Welcome everyone to the Sunapee Scramble Elite Athlete Panel.
Joe Gray, it's a pleasure to have you here as our first interview of the day. I think the first question we have on our docket here for you, at the age of 39, you are a great example of longevity and durability in the sport. What do you most attribute that to right now?
Just personal challenges. Just I'm in love with what I do, and I love competing. So I think at the end of the day, if you love competing, then that usually drive you to stay consistent with workouts and just to stay strong. And obviously, I think genetics play a role too.
Has anything significant changed in the last 3 to 5 years for you in terms of how you prepare for these events, how you get your body ready, your mind ready for these things?
Um, I mean, there's I think new things happen all the time, but like you have new motivations in terms of I have children now, so you start thinking about they're looking at you as an example, and that's kind of a driving factor. But then also my project Inspire Diversity, knowing that my performances matter for that as well. So I think just if anything, motivation.
Do you still feel like going into this event and even well into the future here that you're the person to beat, that you're at your very best at a race tomorrow, like the VK or the All Mountain race on Sunday?
I mean, yeah, the big events are definitely the ones that I thrive in, where there's a lot on the line. Whether or not I'm the favorite or not is something I look forward to, something that I'm excited for.
Talk about the Green Mountain FKT that you just set recently in preparation for this race, because that is a stout segment in the Boulder area.
I mean, I don't know too much about it. It was my first time going up it. I thought it was going to be clear as snow, so I thought it might be like kind of a good little workout, and I got shocked a little bit.
That was your first time?
Yeah,
I can talk about it.
On-site, talk about it, Andy. On-site FKT.
I can say that Sage Candidate said it like 10 years ago when he was in really, really good uphill shape. And then there's like a storm that came through, the big floods that happened in Boulder like 5-6 years ago. And they like washed out part of the trail. So the trail got like slightly harder actually, because they had to like reroute it. And nobody's gone after it because they're like, no, Sage set it on like a faster course. And then Eli said it like a month ago. And I love it because Joe just walks in and breaks that time.
Lauren or Brett, any questions for Joe?
Yeah, I do have a question. So looking at this uphill course for tomorrow, it's pretty diverse in terms of how it starts out, very runnable, more rolling. Do you see a section of the course playing into your favor more than the other?
I think all of it plays in my favor. I like all of it, so I don't see any of it being like detrimental to my game plan or to my abilities. So it'll be a fun course. I'm looking forward to it.
I love that.
I guess building off of that, do you feel like your experience of running so many US and World Mountain Running Championships plays into how you feel confident about really anything that could be thrown at you?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm confident. Like, I'm very much fear what could happen. Like, I know that I could lose any race. You can get hurt. A lot of things can go wrong. So it's not so much confidence that I think the experience brings us, more so I'm looking forward to competing. I like competing, and it's something that like I really have a passion for. So it's not scary in that regard, but definitely I have fear in terms of what can happen. Like anyone else, you're nervous. You're racing against really good athletes, and anything can happen. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd call it confidence. Just more so, just passion.
Yeah.
Joe, are you someone that likes to keep tabs on your competition? And if so, who are you most looking forward to racing against over the weekend?
I don't keep tabs as much anymore. Typically the top guys, we kind of see each other, this being kind of the first big one of the year, being a national championship too, is we haven't had chances to see each other in competition. So we don't know. But yeah, I'm looking forward to racing all. There's a lot of good guys out here. Like every year, I think the mountain championships usually all the it attracts a lot of hybrid athletes, a lot of guys, really solid resume. There's no lottery or anything like that, so all the top guys are here. There's pride, it's a line. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of guys I probably don't know will be at the start line tomorrow.
If you look back at the last 10 to 15 years that you've been in this sport, one thing I'm curious about is just comparing the similarities and the differences over the years. Like, have you noticed the depth of competition in this part of the sport getting deeper? Have you noticed anything about the races becoming more festive? Or, I mean, like, we're doing a live stream here today over the weekend. Talk about any of the changes you've noticed over the years and what interests you the most in those arenas.
I don't know if I would say the depth. Like, you've always had kind of hybrid athletes in the mountain running world, and maybe there's a few more here and there. I would say, like, definitely for the women, you got women like Lauren here, who her kind of showing up has kind of changed the landscape of the sport for definitely in the women's world. In the men's world, we've always kind of had these hybrid athletes, and so to do well, to podium, you had to have the ability to do a multitude of things, flat, hilly, steep, and now you're starting to see that in the women's field. And so that's one of the biggest changes, I think, for the men. There's always been a handful of guys with hybrid abilities. Andy was kind of right maybe a few years before Andy came on the scene. You started to see that wave, and then it grew a little bit, but it's always kind of been there. I think more so now, one of the biggest changes you see now is people are paying attention more to it. It's becoming more of a spectacle, definitely with post race. The after parties and stuff like that are starting to catch up to what you might see in cross country, and hopefully that keeps growing.
When you think about your role as an ambassador for the sport, trying to grow the sport, stuff like that, have you ever tried to recruit any particular athletes over the years? Like, is there any one athlete that you've ran with in college or on the roads that you like think to yourself, like, I wish this person entered a VK, or I wish this person, raced on the Golden Trail Series circuit?
Yeah, there's definitely some guys that I've trained with, like in road season or in cross country season, that would definitely kill it. So I don't know if I want them to be there, but
who are some names?
Like Hillary Bohr is a good buddy of mine. I think he could do really good, and Augustus Mayo, another guy. But they're so solid at what they're already doing that they probably just don't. It's not of interest at the moment.
I've got a few other questions, but Lauren or Brett, anything else come to mind?
I'm loving this conversation and just the theme that it's on. Keep it rolling.
Agreed.
Well, I got to ask a self-serving question, Joe, because I'm a super fan of the mountain ultra trail running space. Is there ever going to be a time in your career where the 100-mile distance, like a race like Western States, appeals to you and you jump up in distance and dabble in that?
We are here at a mountain championship. I'm not here to talk about ultra running, man.
I'm going to use any chance I can get.
Let's stay on that wave.
So the answer is no.
I'm at a championship at this championship. That's what I'm worried about. That's what.
Okay. So no to Western States in the future. Okay.
I didn't say nothing about Western States. I'm talking about mountain running championship.
I respect that.
I guess I do have a follow-up question on that. I guess what has kept you motivated in this space through all the years, just to keep it sub ultra and focus on the speed component?
I love like the closeness of the races. It's the stress of it all. I guess like it feels like there's 3 seconds left and you're down a bucket and you're trying to get a bucket in 3 seconds. I like that. And then also I think it just makes more sense from a financial standpoint. Obviously, I have a family to look after, so I'm not racing for belt buckles and stuff like that. I'm not racing just to run. I can do that on my own in training, so I need to have some kind of incentive, and I think that's important.
Cool.
Well, actually, going off that for a second, I think you raised a couple really interesting points there. When you think about what's on the line for you this being a career, this being your primary source of income, do you rejoice in that pressure on the start line of, some of your performance is going to be contributing to your family life, or how do you handle that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it definitely it crossed my mind, like knowing that I do have people who are looking for me to do well because they need things. My kids need to eat, and they need clothes, and so having a bad day, you got to think about that. If you're just kind of wussing out or having a moment where you're just kind of getting soft, and you have to realize, like, it's not about you. It's not just about you. You got to take care of other people, and you got to give an honest effort even on those bad days.
Right on. Brett, didn't you have a question about the Hoka Jaws?
I did want to know what your footwear of choice was going to be for tomorrow's race.
Oh, you'll see tomorrow.
Oh, something special, huh? Okay.
Clothes.
We'll make sure to get a Joe Gray follow cam just for your feet for tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think they're gonna live stream probably the first mile, so
Yep.
definitely be able to. You'll know.
I'll be on course taking photos.
Yeah, Andy,
Okay.
Shoes.
Leaking.
Yeah, just
Until then.
Andy's went from champion to paparazzi for a race.
Just a fanboy this weekend watching Joe run up the hill.
I mean, if you're running up the hill taking pictures, that means you're probably going to place pretty well too, Andy.
Joe, one final question for me. You've accomplished so much in this sport. What has been the most elusive major goal in this sport for you today? Like, what is still left out there for you to accomplish that you feel like would be a capstone for your career?
Oh, now y'all remember that I've accomplished a lot.
I always remember.
I don't know about. I done heard some of your podcasts where y'all was giving me my love and giving my credit. Like, if you don't like someone, you don't like someone. But if you don't give them credit, that's different.
I think I just made a historical error, but we've always acknowledged your talent.
I will have it be known. I was the one who called Finn out on that.
Yeah, I think
Joe has raced.
Joe, there's a difference between making an error and acknowledging. We've always acknowledged your greatness.
I'm not saying acknowledge your greatness. Like, for example, like if someone's accomplished something, to not give them credit for it, or like to just kind of float over it like it didn't happen, that to me is like kind of a dagger. If you don't like what someone did, or you could say, oh, to some degree, it wasn't here for me, so be it. But if they've accomplished it, you got to give them that credit.
Of course. Yeah. And, I told you that on Twitter. I've offered the chance to apologize in person, but it was just one moment. So I hope you know that we're fans of you. I'm a fan of you, and we're excited to have you here this weekend.
Seeing you face to face and hearing that, it changes it a little bit.
Right on.
So
and standing invite to come on the pod anytime you want. We'd love to have you.
Okay. Yeah, we could do that.
Right on.
But yeah, in terms of to your question, I don't know if anything. I don't know what I'd want to accomplish. I mean, I'd like to get a world title in the vertical. That's kind of why I decided to come back this year for the vertical as opposed to doing both races, because I've won the up and down in classic and the uphill in classic, and so last year didn't go well at Worlds for me and in the vertical. So I feel like I need to run it back and represent my country a little bit better next year or this year.
Yes, we will take that third world champion.
It'll be tough, but I mean, I just want to compete better. I don't think I competed very well last year. So.
Awesome. Well, Joe, great to have you here. Appreciate your time. Wishing you the best tomorrow. Thanks for adding to the excitement at the front of the race. And yeah.
Thank you guys for having me, man.
Best of luck tomorrow.
Best of luck.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Sweet. Yeah, you can probably put it there.
All right, who do we have on deck?
I think we have Rachel. I'm going to need help with the pronunciation of the last name. Tom
to my check.
Okay.
You heard it here.
Rachel, to my check.
Do I need to bring this?
Yeah, you got to hold it.
Oh,
You can
nice.
pull it out. You got to hold it like right here.
Oh, sweet.
Hold it up like that.
Right there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Hey, thanks for having me on.
Rachel, it's a pleasure to have you here. I think, at least for Brett and I, we're meeting you for the first time. Lauren, I'm not sure, but
We were
I think-
roomies in Thailand last year. So
no way.
yeah, yeah.
How was that? Talk about the Thailand experience from last year. How was that?
It was awesome. I had never been to Thailand before, so it was super
Rachel
fun just to be
for a long
over in a new
time.
country, and
Too
yeah,
long.
yeah, it was super fun. So yeah,
Talk about some of the favorite moments. What sticks out when you're
in
remembering the
Thailand,
experience? Yes.
yeah. Well, I feel like just winning the team gold medal in the vertical was huge. It was super, super fun just to like finish that race and see Allie, and she had just won the individual gold, and Lauren had done really well. And I came in third for our team, and we were kind of like waiting to see the results. And Nance came up and said like, "Hey, I think we got gold." So we were like waiting and waiting, and then finally it was like we definitely got gold, and it was just like an awesome moment. So that, and like standing on the podium when the like US like national song is on, national anthem, was really, really cool too. So that was awesome. And then just being around so many amazing trail runners in one place was really cool too. And I think it was such a cool event because there were like short sub ultra distance runners there, but then there were also ultra distance runners there. And so that was really cool just to like see everyone come together and support each other through different distances.
Talk about the cultural experience too, because you're in a foreign country. Thailand is this awesome, exotic place. Walk us through the cuisine, the ambiance, the people. Any memories from that?
Yeah. Well, Lauren almost ate raw meat. So
I did. I would say it was actually consumed. So
Lauren consumed raw meat. So
Rachel, did you ride on a moped? Because there's lots of mopeds there.
I did not get to ride on a moped over there.
We should have.
We should have ridden on a moped over
Kimber's
there.
partner Eric did though. So
Oh really?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
He rode up the vertical course on one.
No
on,
way.
like, a
Oh my
motorcycle.
gosh.
Yeah.
I did ride in one of those like open bus things on the way down from the vertical race. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, so for people who probably don't understand, they have the like buses in Thailand are basically pickup trucks with these like extended backs on them where they have like little benches and they cram like 15 people in. So that was pretty much an experience when you're on a mountain road riding in a what do they call them, red truck?
Yeah, something like that. And you've like
like a
just
school bus.
raced, and some people like you're just winding down this mountain kind of sketchily, but it was really fun. So that was a sweet part. And then we went to some of the markets in Thailand, and that was really cool. There's just like a bunch of food and a bunch of things that like people have made, and people like playing music and stuff like that. So very lively and fun. And we were over there around Halloween too. So there were lots of just like kind of festivals and stuff around that, which I didn't know that they like celebrated Halloween over there. I thought that was more of like an American thing, but over in Thailand they have Halloween too.
They gave me a Halloween treat on the plane on
Did
the way
they?
over. They said, "Halloween treat, here you go."
And what was the treat?
It was like a cookie that was like a witch shaped or something.
That's amazing. Yeah. So yeah,
Well-
we had fun.
Well, Rachel, obviously there's a lot of prestige attached with making a world's team. It's amazing to be able to compete against the best in the world. Obviously the cultural experience is amazing. Can you also talk a bit about the bonding opportunities and developing friendships with people like Lauren on the team? Because I did talk with the men's 80K team, for example, and they have this whole group chat now. They go by Team Visor. They're friends for life. So talk about that impact as well.
Yeah, it's really cool. I feel like those girls that I'm on the team with, you race with in other races that aren't just worlds too. So it's really fun. Like in the sub ultra distance, you're doing like Golden Trail Series races and like US Mountain Champs and like Broken Arrow and stuff like that. And so I feel like there's just so many opportunities to connect like after Worlds too. So you can support each other like while you're there, while you're over in Thailand and on a US team together, but then it doesn't end there. You can really like hang out with each other and like plan to hang out at races together or like stay with each other at other races too. So Grayson and I like today and yesterday have been hanging out a lot. So she lives in Flag, which is where I'm from too. So it's fun just to like see her, hang out with her, and just have community in that way too.
Super cool.
I want to say it's been fun living vicariously through your FKTs the past few months.
Oh, thanks. They've been super fun. I have been loving, just like Andy, we both love doing FKTs. I feel like they're just a fun way to like spice up training a little bit and also like run in a cool place. Because a lot of times if you travel somewhere, you're like, there's got to be cool places to run around here. I just don't know where. So FKTs like give you a chance to like find fun places to run.
Yeah, we need to run one together still.
We should. Yeah.
We're gonna do one.
That would be
sometime.
super fun. Yeah.
Brett or Lauren, any other questions? Or Andy, go ahead.
Oh, I have a question. So
Yeah.
Please.
you ran in Thailand, if I'm not wrong, you ran both the vertical and the up down, right?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And so are you doing both this weekend?
I am. Yes.
Okay,
I'm doing
awesome.
both this weekend. So I'm excited.
Yeah, because I think like it's kind of cool if you have a vertical first. I feel like a lot of people can get intimidated by 2 races in 2 days, but I think you don't get like super beat up from the uphill.
Yeah.
So here's my one question that's most important though. Since you're doing both, are you going to take the lift down after the vertical, or are you going to run down?
Oh, I don't know. I just found out like 5 minutes ago that we were able to take the lift down, but it's like cold and raining tomorrow, it looks like, or potentially, I don't know. So I'm kind of like, do I run down because then I'll be warmer and not just like sitting on a raining like thing?
Yeah,
going
drop it.
down? Yeah.
Just run down.
Yeah.
It'll take you like 5 minutes. You'll be quick.
Exactly. Grayson and I were thinking of just going on the classic course down, or not classic course, but the like uphill for the classic on like the service road.
Oh yeah. I
Instead
was about
of,
to be like doing
trying
the
to get in
downhill
snow.
is on
Yeah.
the downhill on the up down is gnarly.
It is gnarly.
It's really gnarly. We'll have
Yeah.
to talk about that in a minute. But
Yeah.
been on the course today. I'm like, I think it might be one of the hardest downhills on any US Champs course I've been on. So,
Yeah, from the past 2 years, because I've only run trails the past 2 years and the US Champs like the past 2 years. And I definitely think it's the hardest downhill that we've had, or the most technical. So, yeah.
I have a question, I guess, in relation to this. So I've been kind of following Flagstaff's weather this winter. It got hit pretty hard with a lot of snow. Do you
Yeah.
feel like more ready? Because I think the course does still have some snow on it, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it definitely has some snow on it. We have gotten hit hard with the snow. I feel like kind of prepared, but I also like try to avoid the snow in the winter a lot. So I go down to Sedona and Phoenix a ton to run. And in Flagstaff, I feel like it is just harder to run on snowy trails because there's so many like rocks and stuff on them that they just get like icy because the snow doesn't really like stick around the whole time. And then it like ices over at night, and then you're like slipping and sliding into rocks and stuff. So I feel like it's different than running here in the winter where it's just like snow covered all winter and kind of like nicer snow. It's a little bit different on the West Coast.
So you guys who are not here in Sunapee, there's a lot of snow on the course. Like on the service road for the uphill, there's probably not that much, but on the downhill specifically, it's like basically you could ski half the slope.
Yeah.
But Rachel, did you do a course preview?
I did do a course preview.
And you were running on the snow, right?
Yeah.
And did you fall
And
in the
I
snow?
ate it on the snow.
Oh, she didn't want to tell them.
I did eat it on the snow.
There's video
So,
evidence from what I've
there's video
heard.
evidence. Yeah.
Which is nothing to be embarrassed of because it is a ski slope
Yeah.
with snow on it.
I'm trying
and you're
to get
running
it
down
out of the way before Sunday.
But
so
you know what? That might be the fastest way. Even if
might
you
be.
fall, if you're just sending it down the snow.
Yeah. I was flying when I fell and was
really?
zooming across the ice. No, just kidding. I think I came to like a complete halt, but I was laughing. I feel like in trail running, you just have to laugh it off because you're going to fall at some point. So
Yeah, that's great
whatever.
advice. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Because I think that's the point. It's going to be soft at least.
Yeah.
So it's better than rocks.
Totally. And honestly, I feel like I get more scared of like twisting an ankle on the downhill than I do of falling. Because normally for me with falling, I just like fall and then get back up or whatever. But twisting an ankle, you could be like out for a little while.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah.
Hey, Rachel, one question I had for you. So obviously, if you think back to like your college years and your post-collegiate years, I'm assuming there was a lot of structure and accountability and just group behavior to achieve excellence. When you think about investing in the trail scene, how do you stay motivated on a day-to-day basis to pursue your goals? Like, do you have a team around you? Do you have a coach around you? How does that all work?
Yeah, so I actually coach myself, which has been really, really fun. And I'm enjoying it. I appreciate a lot like my coaches from the past and stuff, but I feel like now I've been running like for probably 15-ish years, probably actually like 17 years of my life. And I kind of like know what's worked for me and what hasn't in the past. And so I like that. And I also, so I live near Flag. It's like a little bit west of Flag in Williams, Arizona. And my husband works for like a nonprofit that works with kids. And so I'm like pretty involved in volunteering for that. And that's kind of like my life over in Williams. And there's a whole like camp around it and stuff like that. And so I feel like when I'm in Williams, I'm kind of like consumed in that life instead of like the running lifestyle, which for me has been really, really awesome because I'm not just like constantly thinking about running all the time. And I can go over to Flagstaff and run with like Grayson or some of my friends over there, but I go back to Williams and I'm like not thinking about running like all day, which for me works really well. For some other people, it might not work quite as well, and they might need to be like just integrated into a team like that. But I feel like I am more like intense when I'm training and stuff. And so I like bringing that intensity to training, but then having time to just like relax and like not be thinking about running all the time when I'm not running.
Right on. Well, as we're watching the races unfold over the weekend, where can we expect to see your strengths on display? Do you fashion yourself more of an uphill athlete or a descender or all around? Talk us through that.
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like my uphill has gotten a lot better in the past couple of years. So I'm excited to see how the vertical course goes. But coming from like a track and road background, I do think that I have the speed on the downhill or maybe even on like the service road part where it's like pretty flat or not flat, but just like not as technical and stuff. But I have been running a lot in the trails like in Phoenix, and those are pretty technical trails and stuff. And so I think I've gotten a little bit better at the technical stuff. But yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for the uphill. We'll see if I eat it on the downhill on the classic, but I'm kind of pumped for it all, honestly.
Cool.
Yeah, Rachel, you've just shown how strong you are. And like last year, making Challenge Selena, which is a huge uphill 5,000-foot climb, like that just shows how good of a climber you are. Yeah, and then
Thank you.
You know, in Thailand against the world's best on an up-down course, like those kind of things, you can't hide from that. So I think,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're an all-rounder.
Oh,
I think
thanks,
this is going to
Andy.
be, good place for you to show what you got. So we're
Thanks.
excited for you.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Yay.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, no problem. Good seeing you, Lauren.
Rachel. Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
Good luck tomorrow.
Good luck. Go get them.
Andy, are you up next?
I think so. Yeah, I need to look at the schedule.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we have you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, hop on over to that other seat.
Right in the middle, a hot seat. Live from Sunapee, New Hampshire.
Nice. Yeah, you can just ask your own questions and answer them.
30-minute spiel.
Andy,
I can talk all day. It's great.
Oh yeah. Well, Andy, one of the first things that I wanted to ask you, and I was actually talking with a few folks just about your involvement in USATF and in the sub ultra world. Can you talk about being an ambassador for this part of the sport and what gets you excited, not just to get the best out of yourself as an athlete, but also to make sure that the next generation of athletes is equipped with opportunities for success and just the general welfare of the sport? Like what brought you to a point in your career where you wanted to get involved in that part as well?
Yeah, there's a couple different pieces to that. I think, oh man, I'm thinking about a couple things. So like, for example, I've been to the USATF annual conference, which is definitely like, it's for all pieces of the people involved with USATF. And I did that, man, when was the first time? It's funny, Jared Ward was there. It was cool. I think we were roommates back in a couple years ago, and then we were just roommates in 2020 for the USATF annual conference. But yeah, I think that's been, so I've been a pro athlete probably for like 8 or 9 years, and 3-4 years ago that became part of my life, where it was like, I'm not just an athlete, I want to do this for other people. I'm thinking about how can I improve the sport, how can I learn as an athlete, how to represent trail running, and how to, you know, show other people what we do to get, you know, younger people involved, people who are already runners but maybe on the road or track or some other aspect of that. And then I've told the story a couple different times, but I think a piece that I've been really contemplating is like, I really distinctively remember running the US Mountain Running Champs in 2019, which was in Waterville Valley, also here in New Hampshire. And I don't know why it stuck that much, but that year in particular, I was just like, man, I just made my, like, whatever it was, 6th team in a row or something like that for mountain running. And I was like, why, you know, like, why aren't there more people beating me? And I meant that in a good way. Just like, how can we find those people? Because I know there are people that could kick my butt, and I want to go like find those young runners, these like super talented NCAA runners, and encourage them to get on the trails and come out to the mountain running champs. Because you know, I want to make as many teams as I possibly can, but at some point, like, I want the US team to keep on winning gold medals and keep on succeeding. And like, how can we just like make that happen?
Okay, this is kind of a funky question, but if you think of a progress bar from like 0% to 100%, with 100% representing like truly saturated competition in the sport where there's just like so many talented athletes out there, where are we at right now in the sub-ultra scene? Like for a race like Sunapee this weekend, where would you put the progress bar in terms of the depth of competition?
Ooh, that's a hard question. Man, you know, just to give you a number first, I'd say something like 50% or something.
So there's a lot of room for improvement. Yeah,
but I definitely want to qualify that. Like, I think Joe was saying earlier, like, I think since day one, like when I started doing, I ran the US Mountain Running Champs in 2013, and got my butt handed to me because I didn't know how to run on a ski slope. And, you know, I was running for the University of Colorado the years before that. It's not like I'd never seen a ski slope and never ran in the mountains. It's a different format, and it's really hard. And there's a lot of talented high-end guys. So I think there's always been a few very good people in the sport, no matter what. Like, our teams have been good. We've shown that. We've had like medals for years and years. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Like, you know, we're a big country. It's really prestigious to come in to win this race. And I think that's drawn a lot of talent. So I think, you know, even since when I started, there was good people running. I think since then we've gotten more excitement and more growth in the sub ultra scene. So I think people have been coming to trail running, and the depth of talent has grown. You know, I'm thinking about, like, it seems like almost every year we have like a couple new people trying it out, and it's been exciting. Like, yeah, there's just more people who usually do road or track kind of crossing over and trying it out. And that's been getting better and better. And like, you can see that, like, I think some certainly big years for that were in 2021 at Narnar, which was near Portland, Oregon, at near Mount Hood. There's just like so many like local young talented runners coming in. But we still do have room to grow. I think there's definitely like a lot of people who are intimidated, or just the logistics are hard for them. And so, yeah, I'm passionate about helping those people get into the sport and try it out, so that we can even increase the depth of the running of the top end runners that we have here.
Lauren or Brett, did you want to add anything in?
Yeah, I guess I kind of already know the answer to this because I've heard the spiel about the trail team before, but I guess first, what do you think the biggest barrier is for that person trying to break into the world, whether that be post NCAA or even people on the other side of a pro career, like wanting to embrace trails, I guess? And how does the trail team, I guess, fill that gap?
Yeah, sure. So I think, one of the biggest challenges is that people just don't know the options. And I think that's for all aspects of running, and especially running like professionally or semi-professionally. And so like, we're really just trying to share that story. I think live streaming, you know, the races and showing what that looks like, because honestly, it's hard. Okay, it's already hard. It's hard to film something like the London Marathon, but they can put cars out there, right? It's much harder to film NCAA cross country, but they put whatever
Yeah.
the like things out there.
Yeah.
Mountain running, it's really hard to film because it's on a mountain and you're going on single track and it's crazy. And so I think, and it doesn't even show if you did have drones and stuff. So I think by having more of that, we're going to get there and show people like the beauty and the challenge of the terrain. But yeah, so anyway, just showing people that it's an option that you can run trails after college. If that's you, you can run trails no matter who you are, and just sharing that. And I think there's also some other things holding people back, like, but that's the beauty of our sport. I think like one thing is like, maybe it's like financial, or it's like, it's hard for you. You don't see someone who looks like you, like running on the trails. And I hope we're changing that. And I hope that people know that like running is a great sport because you basically you don't even need shoes technically, but I mean, you just need a pair of shoes, and there's trails in many places that you'd be surprised, even near a lot of cities and places like that, like urban areas. So.
Andy, one question I wanted to ask you about the progress with the trail team. I'm sure that when you first started it, last year, you had a thesis about what it was going to take for it to be successful and its impact on the sport. Now that you're 6 to 12 months into the project, can you talk about the things that you were right about in that hypothesis, and maybe some of the things that you're reevaluating to make this thing successful for the long term?
Yeah, I think, success for us was sharing that trail story. I think some things have been easier than others. I think that we've gotten a lot of people excited about trails. We've connected people. That's been a big deal too. Like, I think there's a lot of people who are like, I am the one trail runner on my NCAA cross country or track team. And just being like, through social media, that's such an easy thing nowadays to be like, hey, like, no, you're not, like, or maybe you are on your team, but here's the other person on their team. And, connect with each other and get excited about races you're going to do, and, ways that you can connect and meet up to go run on trails. For our goals, I think that, so I think for like, I'm trying to think of a couple of different things. Like, here's an easy example. So we have a club team for the trail team, and maybe it was 2 weeks ago at Desert Rats, Brian Whitfield won, and another one of our runners, Emma, got third. So it's like, we're already podiuming, and it's like the season hasn't even really started yet. It's April, and so I think like, if you're talking about success in terms of like visibility and like having like winning races and being on the podium, like, I think that's going to happen. And I think like, where do we go from here? Like, how can we set the bar higher? I think it's more about like inspiring people and doing a better job with like sharing the story through media.
Set the table, if you don't mind, for some of the members of the trail team that are racing this weekend. Do you have anybody from the team for this year that will be in the VK or the Sunday All Mountain race?
Yeah, so Alex Lawson is on the trail team, and she is a local, Vermonter, and so she'll be racing both races. I think she's going to do really well, and I'm pretty excited just to see how she's doing, because she's so new to trails. She's a pro Nordic skier, for those who don't know her, and she placed third last year at Loon Mountain at the vertical champs, the U.S. vertical champs. So she missed out on making a U.S. team by one spot, and it was a pretty good race. It was Lauren who won, and then Rachel, who's just with us, who got second. So she had some stiff competition last year. But I think, she's had another year of experience. Basically, last year was her first year running trails. And so I think that this could be a big year for her. If not, this weekend could be a big weekend for her.
Cool.
Sorry. And there's a couple more people before I forget. So on our club team, we have Corey Dow, who represented the U.S. last year. She's going to run the up-down course. She's, got a great chance to make the team, and she'll be someone to watch out for, because she is a very good downhiller. We got Noah Williams, who I just ran with this morning, who did a course preview. He was on the 40K team last year in Thailand. He'll be kind of just tuning up for Breakneck next weekend. We got Ace Brown. He's a great trail runner from Colorado. He'll be out here. I'm not sure if he's running. I think he's running both races. And my wife, she's on the Canadian team already for the World Championships for Mountain and Trail, but she's here just to do a tune-up here at Sunapee, and she's on the Trail Team Club team also.
Cool. Lauren, if you don't mind, I wanted to put you on the spot because as we're talking about this trail team concept, I feel like you're one of the great ambassadors for this type of project. Can you maybe share with the audience what your thought process was when it came to transitioning from this great collegiate career to the trails, when typically the path is like, if you're going to do something post collegiate, it's going to be first on the road and the track? Like, walk us through your decision-making process there and like what some of the highlights were for getting into this world instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot there, but I guess it actually starts out in 2017, making the World Junior team for trail in Cremona, Italy. And Andy was on the team, Allie was on the team, Joe was, of course, on the team. You know, like seeing these greats as coming out of high school. And that's where I decided, like, this is where I want my professional career to go after college. But not knowing how to bridge that gap and, you know, setting into college with this intention of going pro in trail as well, and not really knowing that track was going to come around also. But so then last year feeling like pretty defeated in trying to find a situation where I could, you know, be sponsored as a pro track and trail athlete. But seeing where that like gap needed to be filled by something, and then seeing Andy again in Thailand. And I think he saw where he had so much to give and he knew so many people with so much to give that could, you know, lay the foundation and help athletes like me having maybe an easier time than they did trying to make it in the world. So yeah, I think it was just right place at the right time. And yeah, wanting to contribute where I can and helping people after me. And you know, I have so much fun trying to get people to come run trails with me for my team. So if I could just keep doing that and growing the sport that way, I think that's fantastic.
That's awesome. Andy, one thing I wanted to make sure we talked with you about is just calls to action for the viewers and the listeners out there. If there are people that are hearing this conversation and they're excited about this trail team concept that you've started, what are the easiest ways to be a fan of this, to follow the athletes, to keep track of what you're doing?
Yeah, I think easiest thing is follow us at on Instagram at the trail team. And actually, I think those are underscores. Sorry, it's hard to get those all. The underscore trail underscore team or trail-team.com. I think that's a good start because, for example, on our website, trail-team.com, we have like a community page, and it just has a lot of resources. Into what like Lauren was just talking about, I think there's like a really big disconnect. Like I'm a hybrid athlete. I call it crossover athlete, where like I've done a lot of road races, and I like really distinctly, like even this year, like distinctly remember like I'll be at a road race or like talking to my road race friends, and they have like no idea about trails. And then sometimes you're talking to trail athletes and they have no idea about road racing. And so I think we just need to bridge that gap because a lot of us have like this similar, like very professional background or like college running background or just like the same enthusiasm and the same passion and hard work and like ethics and those kind of things. So kind of like translating that seems like to be a problem. And we're just really working on it because I think people are a little lost about like what that looks like. I think like a quick example, sorry, I'm like rambling here, but
no, not at all. Not at all.
To the point is like, someone will be like, oh, Lauren, you're like, you're a trail runner, right? When's the last like 100 miler you did? And you're like, no. Like, there's more than just, there's more distances than the 100 miles. So
yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah. But it's just like, if you're not a track fan, it's the same thing. Like you just need to know like, oh, you go that direction around the track and there's different events and there's a field event thing too, and they're different. So just like being able to appreciate the nuances is like just sharing that knowledge about the sport.
Awesome. Any final thoughts or comments, Brett?
How are you feeling for the races this weekend? Andy, I know you talked a lot about, some people on the team, but how is your prep for these been?
Oh, I'm not racing. Yeah, I should have shared that earlier.
Oh, you're not racing.
I'm just here to support and do media and things like that. So Yeah. Which
Good luck running uphill with a camera.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds honestly more stressful than racing.
Two exciting
Hear,
points
hear.
I was looking at though is so Joe Gray's running the vertical as we just heard. I think he's got a really good shot to just make another team and have another potentially win another race, U.S. championship. But I was looking at it. So I won the U.S. mountain running championships last year, the up down course. And Joe has basically won every other year for the last 10 years. It's pretty crazy. And so I was looking back at like, when was the last time Joe didn't win
Wow.
a race? And why that's so exciting is because on Sunday, there's going to be an up down US mountain running championships that does not have Joe Gray in it. And I'm also not in it, who won last year. So it's really exciting that we'll have a new name up on the board.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Really cool.
Yes. Well, Andy, always a pleasure to chat. Thank you for everything you're doing, not just as an athlete, but as an ambassador and an operator for this trail team. And we're excited to follow all the media you create this weekend.
Thanks so much.
Bye, Andy.
We got a Grayson Murphy coming up.
Nice.
All right.
Maybe I'll stay on until she gets over here.
Okay. You can fill the air for the next 30 seconds.
Yeah. She's walking over. She looks like she's going to win. Very confident strut coming in.
All right. Thank you for the play-by-play.
Yeah. And then hold that pretty close to your face. Like when you're talking.
Okay.
Hey, Grayson.
Hi.
Awesome. Well, first of all, great to see you again. I feel like it's been a minute.
I know. Haven't been home in a while.
Couple things we got to talk about. The first thing, you are coming off, I believe a month ago, an Olympic trials qualifying performance in the half marathon. You ran a 70-minute and change half in Washington earlier this month. If you can, walk us through that performance and whether it gives you confidence for the racing you're doing this weekend at Sunapee.
Yeah. So that was a really fun race. It was an interesting course. It definitely was not set up for an OTQ. So the night before I was kind of like, we're going to try, but I don't know what we're going to get out of this course. So luckily I had some good pacers. The weather was pretty terrible, but just try not to think about it and run. And yeah, we got it done. So I felt really fit going into that. And I always feel really good coming off of like road and track fitness going to the trails. So that kind of made me feel confident moving now into trail season.
I know that you have been a champion for being an all-around runner, at least for the past few years. Do you feel like you've gained even more confidence in that time, that you're on the right path and that you do have the ability to transition from the roads to the trails and in between distances and really be at your best at any given moment?
Yeah, I think so. It does require some planning, but nothing. It seems to be continuing like on the trajectory upward, which is encouraging. And I have people now like Lauren too, who are kind of following a similar path. And that is reassuring too, that it's not just like some crazy thing I'm doing, that it's something everyone can do and be successful at. So I think that's kind of a validation. And yeah, I think it'll be fun to continue that path moving forward.
I know that we're here to talk about Sunapee, but one last question on the marathon front. Will we see you at the 2024 trials going for the Olympics?
Yes, yeah, that was the whole point of the OTQ. So
Right on.
very excited for that later after trail season, though.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, one question I wanted to ask you before I hand it over to Lauren and Brett. You have been based out of Salt Lake City at certain points, Bozeman, Montana at certain points. It appears you've been spending the majority of your time in Flagstaff this winter. Talk about your decision to train there, what the scene's been like, so like living, training partners, et cetera, and the benefits you feel you're getting for Sunapee this weekend.
Yeah, Flag is great, especially in the winter because you can pop down to Phoenix so easily. So that's a great option to get out of the snow. And there's so many people there all the time, which is really nice. So you almost never are at a loss for training partners. Whether it's trail, there's a little less trail people there, but plenty of road people to train with. And then I still have Salt Lake and Montana as trail options for the summer. So that's where I'll be this summer.
Right on.
Yeah, so it's been pretty fun. And the altitude is nice too. Sea level feels pretty good right now.
Cool. Lauren, any questions for Grayson?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, the last time I saw you was technically Flagstaff, but really like Italy when we were out there. And I know you were, on the fence about where you wanted to go in terms of taking care of yourself. And I know you were pretty vocal about that on social media, especially like taking yourself out of Worlds, which can only imagine was a very difficult decision. But on the other end, like now that you're accomplishing huge goals like a 70-minute OTQ and like here now ready to strike at another world championship team, like how do you feel looking back on that decision, and I guess briefly walk me through how you feel about that.
Yeah, it was really hard. I mean, I definitely had told you in Italy, like, oh, I don't know about this. And then when I had to pull out of Thailand, there were a lot of tears shed for that too. But I wouldn't take it back because I am running now without pain and without a paralyzed hip, which feels like pretty good and is helpful on the running and especially downhills and technical stuff. So yeah, it was a hard decision, but I think it was the right one for me. And I wouldn't take it back. And it just makes this feel like more valuable too, because I know how easily it can be taken away. So I think that's why I'm so excited for tomorrow and less nervous than in the past, is just like I'm here and I'm running it and I'm not injured. And that's like a gift because I didn't have that last year and I'm in such a different place from last year. So I'm just like a lot of gratitude for this weekend.
Yes. Well, I really admire your patience and just your perspective on it, because I think it's so easy to get trapped in like, oh, I got to do this right now without thinking about, a year or 2 years down the line. So it's really cool to see that this has paid off for you. And I'm glad that this is your perspective on tomorrow and the next day.
10 out of 10 would recommend taking care of your body.
It seems
Amen.
so easy for some reason.
Brett, any questions?
Yeah, I had a training question, just because you've got such a well-rounded portfolio of track, road, trail. Having transitioned between like trail season, road season, track season a couple times now, has there been anything that you've learned about kind of those transitions, things that you now take out of your training going into trail or keep in your training coming from, road to trail? What's that transition like now versus like the first time you've ever changed seasons?
It's a good question. I think the first thing I really learned is it's a lot easier to go from fast to slow than the other way around. So that's why usually a road build or track build will come first. So you can build that like top end speed first and then just maintain with volume through a trail season. It's a little interesting. Like if you look at my Strava, and I do put all of my runs on Strava, like through the trail or the road build, like I never went over maybe 3,000 or 4,000 feet of vert in a week, with the exception of one run I did with Allie. But I feel like that one doesn't count. And then, yeah, so there's a lot less vert for sure. And part of that was because it was winter time too. But then when I switch over to like the last 2 weeks have been like more trail, there's a lot more vert involved. So the hours are longer. So just kind of thinking about like time on feet differential and less vert, more vert, kind of that stuff, and just juggling it all to balance it and making sure something's not like, you don't want something way out of whack from the rest of the things that you're kind of working with.
Grayson, I have a race strategy question for you.
Okay.
If you take an event like the VK, every single step of that race is consequential. You always have to be thinking about the moves you're making. Where can fans who are watching the live stream tomorrow expect you to really be shining or making your moves? How do you approach that type of race?
Lauren probably knows. I told her my race tactics for mountain races are just like go.
That was the strategy.
Sideline the whole way. Usually I just kind of go from the front and see who wants to come with and play. So that's my strategy.
I love that. Any people that you're particularly excited to compete with tomorrow, given that this is such a competitive event? There's so many great athletes on the line.
Yeah, I think there's a great field. Hopefully we can get a good team for Worlds. And yeah, bummed Lauren's not here, the reigning VK champ, but we'll have her out here next time. And yeah, I think we'll have a good team for Worlds.
Talk about what a world spot would mean to you, like the chance to go to Austria later this year. Obviously, you're a veteran of this experience, but what excites you to go again?
Yeah, I think some comeback from last year and just getting back kind of what I lost out on last year. So it'd be really cool to be able to have that experience again. And it's cool that Worlds has gotten more competitive, it seems, in the last couple of years. So going back would be, again, really cool just to like try it again and compete against some more competitive people and see where I stack up.
Cool. Lauren or Brett, any other questions?
What kind of shoes are we going to see you rocking tomorrow for the uphill race?
They're going to be pink. And that's about all I can tell you.
Oh man, another mystery set of shoes.
That's the theme today.
I do
is it?
kind of,
Interesting.
yeah, there's been a couple of like, I can't quite tell you, you'll see
Yeah.
tomorrow. And I guess part of me does really love that answer.
They're great shoes. Very
Okay.
excited for them. Mhm.
We'll have to get some follow cams out there on the
Yeah.
course with some close-ups
Yep.
on the shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get Andy in on that one.
Yeah. Some like trail level view.
Yep, he's gonna be our shoe guy tomorrow.
Yeah.
Grayson, for us folks in the media, it's almost impossible for us not to look super far ahead. I'm guilty of it all the time. Assuming you get a spot to Austria, what does the second half of your year look like this year?
Yeah. So hopefully we've got Worlds, hopefully in both events, and then Broken Arrow, and then I'll do Golden Trail Series this year. So Series and all, Pikes Peak and Mammoth will be my 3 for the series.
Nice.
I'll probably fill in with some Cirque Series because I can't pass those up and they're so fun. And then Golden Trail Series final, and then we'll start a marathon build on the road.
Wow. So you will do a marathon before the trials in 2024?
No, I'll debut at trials, but
Yeah.
Golden Trail Series ends October, so they'll have to start the build pretty soon after.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how much of the block will be, or how much of the rest of the year will be based in Salt Lake City?
We'll see. I'm hoping to come in July, and then hopefully if I make the team here this weekend, I want to fly out in and out of Salt Lake. So hopefully I'll be home for the middle part of the year.
Cool. Well, Grayson, it's been a pleasure to have you. And any final thoughts, any calls to action for the listeners out there, the viewers out there?
Oh, get out there and race and enjoy the view.
Right on. Well, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, Grayson. Good luck.
Thank you.
Just to update the listeners and the viewers, you are listening to and watching the pre-race interviews with top athletes at the U.S. Mountain Running Championships live from Sunapee, New Hampshire. I'm with colleagues Lauren Gregory, Brett Hornig, and now the great Paul Kirsch. And we have at least another hour of pre-race interviews left on the docket. Excited that you're joining us. Paul, what's up with you?
Well, Dan's running like 2 minutes late, so I figured I could hop on for a second. I know people have talked about the course a little bit. We're really excited. Tomorrow's race. There you go.
There we go.
So you can kind of tell when it hits this, like, so it starts on a dirt service road, and that's that kind of grind there up until about 1.5-ish. And then it kind of dips down. You do have to do a small stream crossing, which Tom Hooper and I were really happy. 2 weeks ago, we would have been doing a river crossing. Luckily, it is now just a stream crossing. And from there is when it really hits the serious single track. And it's a really nice New England style trail. Lots of rocks, lots of roots, kind of stone steps going up. There's a few scrambles in there. And then you kind of run around, kind of you peak and then kind of dip down a little bit, join back up with the ski trail with about 2/10 of a mile to go. So,
Paul, one question I wanted to ask you on the course profile. We're both familiar with the Loon course from a few years back, the final 40% grade section, upper walking boss. How does this 40% section here compare to that? Like in terms of where it's placed on the course and in the challenges for runners, stuff like that?
I think this is much tougher because at Loon, it's a grass ski slope. You have people like Joe Gray who are going to be able to just put their heads down and grind up it and actually still running. Here, the 40% slope there's rocks and roots and, not really natural steps you can do. It's a New Hampshire granite hiking trail kind of thing.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
looking at the profile, so it'll go to pretty gnarly single track, what is that? A little like about 1 3/4 miles.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate there to be much for passing opportunity for the next, mile and a half or so? Because I've seen a little bit of the preview of the course, and it looks like it just would take a lot of energy. So I'm curious if there's going to be a battle to get to the start of the single track first, just so that person gets to be able to dictate the pace.
I actually think I could see that being a strategy, especially if you've got real wheels and you can, it reminds me of a very New England thing, which is snowshoe racing. And there's often strategies you see there, like people who would get in and they'd floor it on like a snowmobile part of the trail so they could hit the single track and, pull the pace back because they knew nobody could pass them. I do think it's going to take a lot of energy to pass in the single track. There are spots where you can kind of eye it and see it, but that 40% grade is going to be really tough without wasting a lot of energy.
Lauren,
then,
go ahead, Brett. Sorry.
And then there's that little descent before kicking back up to the finish. I guess that would be saving it a little late, but I guess, I'll ask this question to Lauren. Like Lauren, we were saying how there might not be much for passing opportunity once you hop into the single track around the, 1 3/4 mark, and how it might just be a race to get there first. But is there a scenario where maybe it's wise to just keep chilling and wait all the way late until maybe the last half mile and just rip that little downhill and hope for the best in the last couple 100 meters? What do you think?
Man, I don't know if I'm the most experienced in this by any means, but I think the only thing I've found is I just need to race my own race usually. And I don't know what else you can do about that. So if you're a good descender, then maybe it is wait for that. If you're a really good climber, then it's get to the climb first. But I feel like if you're not a good climber and you get to the climb first and you just blow up, then you have no legs for the down and you're kind of just tarnishing your own, or like setting your own fate, So that would be the only thing I would recommend, but don't listen to me really.
I think you're wise beyond your years.
I don't know.
That's actually,
I concur.
This is actually a great transition because someone who's probably been on the course more now than anyone else in New Hampshire in the last 3 weeks is Dan Kurtz, who's here now.
Dan
he can probably
Kurtz.
talk a little bit about it as well.
Yeah, I would say on that, I think it's I think one of the more technical spots. Is this close enough here?
Yeah, there you go.
I'd say one of the more technical spots on the whole vertical course is just before you pop out on the ski trail, actually, and it's like flat. You're not climbing; it's just coming across, and it's super off camber, and you're just coming across, and it's all rock. It's going to be real interesting. So I'd say waiting for there to pass is going to be tough still.
Well, hey, Dan, first of all, long time no see.
Yeah, it's been 2 hours in the group chat.
It's been a 2-hour gap in our text exchange, but a couple of questions because I think you're one of the most interesting people in the sport. You were dabbling in the van life this past winter and spring. You headed out to Flagstaff, Arizona. Talk about that experience. Talk about why you wanted to head west and just what that did for your training and if it made you, any more sympathetic to the West Coast scene or if you're going to be staying rooted out there in the East.
Yeah. So, I mean, classically, I feel like we just go away for a winter camp. I think it makes sense to do. The winter here is just obviously pretty long, and I think it just makes sense to break up the year anyway. So, last 2 years, I've gone other places, and neither were probably where I'd go for the winter again. And then my training partner, Ben, he was staying around the area. His wife's in a PhD program. They just had a kid. So kind of figured out my own thing this winter. And I went out to Flagstaff, was going to go to Mammoth, too snowy. Didn't really make sense to go out there. And so went to Flag. And I mean, really the issue with Flag this year was I didn't realize all the Forest Service roads were closed all winter. So there was no dirt road access, and then trail access was pretty bad as well. So I don't know if I'm in shape for this. So we're definitely going to find out tomorrow.
I was just going to ask what your day-to-day experience was like out there. Like, what did a normal day look like? What were you doing to stay fit or to get
Oh
fit?
well, normal day was wake up in the Cracker Barrel parking lot because that was about the only place to park, and then head over to the athletic club most mornings. And I was out there with a buddy, and so he just had surgery, so he's not running much right now, but he's doing a lot of Stairmaster time. So we'd spend like 5 or 6 hours of the day there at least, and try to do a bunch of skiing up the mountain. And so we'll see if that translates. I will say one of the days I was like, I'm gonna have no running legs. So one of the days I just went to the Grand Canyon and just kind of like pounded down and then like ran pretty hard back up on dead legs. And so I'm hoping that's had some effect. And then since getting back, I've tried to do some hillier, just like dirt roads on easy days, see if we can get the legs a bit more resilient to the pounding, but we'll see.
One other question I wanted to ask you before we get into more Sunapee specific topics. I think there's probably a lot of viewers out there, listeners out there that romanticize the van life, and they're either in the process of souping up, some old vehicle or they've done it themselves. What's your current opinion on the van life? Are you someone that is going to go out and use it this summer? Are you going to be doing it in the future? Can we expect more trips to Flagstaff in it? Talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like the idea. I think it's tough to do if you're too tight on a schedule. It's probably pretty tough because you've got to be able to kind of change plans if you need to. But like for the most part, I think it's great. Like driving back, it's super easy. You just you're on the highway and you're like, oh, I'm tired, and you pull off in Ohio into a rest area, and you go from driving to sleeping in like 2 minutes. Like super easy. It's interesting to train out of just because some parts are like way better. Like showing up to a run and having all your stuff there is awesome. But then like my van doesn't have any heat in it. So then you get back from a cold run and like you're all snowy and cold and tired, and you get in the van and you're like, holy crap, it's so cold out still. And those aren't super great, but it all works. An 85 van a van from the year 1985 might be a little old, but it's worked so far.
One more question I want to ask you before I pass it off to Brett and Lauren. You got to walk us through your funniest or your funniest van life story to date.
Yeah, so I think for the record, I hate the term van life. I think it's ridiculous.
What should we be changing it to?
I don't know. You're just training and happen to be sleeping in the car, I guess. I don't know. But probably one of the more ridiculous ones was driving out to Santa Fe. And so, actually, this is kind of a two-part. So we're driving out to Santa Fe in the desert, and the fuel gauge wasn't working. So we were just like calculating mileage, like gas mileage, adding on the odometer what we had to fill up by. And so then we're in New Mexico somewhere, and the van just dies on the highway. Like, oh no, like it's all over. And so then I ended up realizing we were just out of diesel, like easiest possible fix. And I had brought like a jerry can for this, but for some reason we didn't have it fill. So then I like hiked off through the desert to a gas station, filled it up, walked it back, filled it back up. And then what I didn't realize was that I just wasn't thinking, like it was super my fault. They didn't have winter mix in that diesel. So then we drove from there. We stayed up on the mountain in Santa Fe that night. And so we were sleeping at like 10,200 feet or something. And it was quite cold, obviously. And diesel gels below 40 degrees if you don't have the winter mix. So starting the van the next day was a disaster. I ended up starting a fire in my cast iron pan under the engine to heat it up.
Wow.
This is the content we need from runners. This is amazing.
So that was a couple hours of like laying on the ground under the van up on the mountain, like no one's in this parking lot. It was kind of grim and it was so cold, but ended up getting the van started, so it worked. It was like one of those things I feel like people talk about maybe working, and then until you do it, you're not sure.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Yeah. See, that's the true like hashtag training, but living in my car type story that the people need to hear.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like,
that's not glamorizing van life at all.
yes. So that one, you're like, you're hungry. I was just skiing for a couple hours. Like, you get back, you're hungry. You just want to kind of collapse after, a long day of driving and then training, and you just can't, obviously. Like, you have to attend to the situation. That was fun, though.
It reminds me, of a equally ridiculous story. Our mutual friend Jack Kenzel, I think, was trying to restart his truck, and he was trying to reach his jumper cables into the back of the car where there was another power generator. And I just thought that whole scene was one of the funniest things.
I've done that one as well. Yeah.
Lauren, any questions for Dan?
Regarding van life, or are we switching gears?
A la carte, anything you want.
I guess we're not calling it van life, but I'm calling it until he has another option. Yeah, I guess we can change gears to the course, since that's what we were starting with. But I guess thoughts on your how you feel prepared for the course, and versus maybe the training situation you saw at West, and how you feel people are prepared for that versus people training on the East Coast, or if it makes a difference at all.
It's hard because I'm sure, like, at the end of the day, I'm sure it's just like fitness is fitness, but also fitness does, just the term like relays some amount of specificity, like it's fit for a certain task. So it's hard to say. I would say if you'd spent a bunch of time running a lot of technical trail, I think you'd be pretty ready, because I do think it's a lot different, like the demands on your body if you're running up something like smooth and like steady, like if you're doing Mount Washington where it's like 12 or 13% for 7 miles or whatever, it's completely different. That's just all aerobic, and like it's still mostly running. But if you're doing like jumping between rocks and like occasionally having to jump like 2-3 feet up, and it just pounds your legs a lot differently. Like, so I do think that, I mean, it's going to play a role. I'm sure that'll play a role in the descent in the classic race, and in the vertical too. Like, you kind of come up to this false summit, and then you are basically traversing through the woods. There's almost like if you look at the elevation profile, there's like a mile of the course where you basically net no elevation. And it's just kind of rolling, and you're going to be going into blind turns and trying to not run into trees. And so yeah, I'm hoping I'm ready for that, because I've run a lot of stuff like this, like growing up in the last year. But also, if you're not fit, it doesn't matter. So
just don't blow up.
Yeah. I think that's going to play a big role in the race, honestly. Like, I think if you run too hard on the approach to rim trail, that I think you'll hit rim trail and you'll do some rock hopping, like jump a couple streams, and then you'll go on to Newbury Trail. And if you're too close to the red line, I think you're just going to pop, honestly. I think there's going to be I think that'll be interesting, because it's just going to be a lot of like explosive movements for different chunks of the course. And yeah, if you're too close to the red line, I think you're going to pay for it.
Fair enough.
Brett, any questions for Dan?
Dan, in your, I guess, personal opinion, are you more excited for the uphill or the classic course?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm better at, like, course specifics aside, I think like in general I'm better at a classic race. I think to be quite good at a classic race, I think you need to be able to be in the vertical race for sure. And so I'm hoping both go similarly well, I'd guess. But I'm trying not to think too much about the classic race and the vertical race first, honestly. I think all of that aside, like any emotion aside, I think I'm more like, I think I should do better at the classic race. But it's so hard to tell. Like, it's possible I'm just blown up from the vertical, and I've never done the, back-to-back race, like other than a 1500 on the track, and then like, like rounds at conference or, something like that. So yeah, I like the course more for the vertical, probably. I like all the single track, but I also think there's parts of the classic race that are super interesting. Like, I think the last half mile is going to be screaming fast. And then like the middle mile is going to be super fast as well. which I don't know if I'm fit for. So I did
Yeah.
the last like quick-ish workout I was supposed to do. It went like awful. I did like 7 of 12 reps and like walked it in. It was like, this is awful. So who knows?
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I guess follow-up question to that was, will you be running back down after the race tomorrow, or will you be taking the chairlift?
Yeah, I'm gonna chairlift. This seems like a no-brainer, kind of.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the
I'll get
debate
to run down
was,
hard the next day twice, so that should
Yeah.
probably be enough.
yeah, it seemed like the ongoing debate was, do we jog down slowly and easily, kind of let the muscles cool down, or sit on the chairlift, get to chill, no extra steps, potentially freeze? But you actually have good like van life experience with being cold when you shouldn't
Yeah,
be. So
no,
maybe
exactly.
that
I'm adjusted
will
to
actually play into
sleeping
your strengths.
outside and like, you know, hopefully I'm fine for the cold weather.
Yeah.
That's what I tried to blame that bad workout on. I was like, it's hot. It was in like Tulsa on the way back here. It was like 80.
Of course.
I was like, oh, it's just too hot. That's clearly what's wrong. But no, it's just a bad workout.
Dan, I come from the ultra world, and so it's extremely rare to see back-to-back days of racing. Walk us through what it looks like to get your legs ready again for another heavy effort on Sunday.
Yeah, so like I said, I've never done the vertical classic, like the mountain double that I feel like is fairly typical. I know Lauren did that this summer. I don't know if she's done that before. But coming from the track, I'm used to definitely going like late night racing and then having to shut it off and try to get to sleep and like come back for the next day. So like classic would be like a Big 12 championship indoors where you're running like twice at night and then have to come back the next day and run twice again. And so that's you just kind of attempt to just, I would always try to get like away from the race environment as much as possible, get some dinner, just lay down, put the feet up, figure out a way to try to just relax and get some sleep, which is always the hardest part for me. And then it's just game day the next day. So it's kind of like you're just up from that. But I feel like on the backside of things, you're pretty trashed. I will say coming into it, if you're a little too tired, I think it's probably hard to double. But I think if you're coming in fresh, the double is fine because you're like just close, not as close to that line or whatever. It will be interesting because I'm racing next weekend again. So I think that'll be, and a lot of people are doing that too. So that's a storyline throughout this. Like a lot of people are going down to breakneck. So that'll be interesting how people end up doing the like 3 fairly hard races in, 8 days or whatever, 7 days. Yeah, I think everyone kind of does it differently, but mostly I think the issue for me is like sleep the night after the first race and the second race if you're going to come back. Like if you're in the middle of the season, you have to sleep well after the second day or you're just so buried.
I think we got time for one final question here. This has been awesome, Dan. I want to shout out your local training group, Northwoods Athletics. Yeah. And one thing cool about Northwoods is you got a roster of people from all sorts of different places in the running world. And, to our Eric LaPuma and Ben True. Did you have any interesting conversations with them about this race? Like, what are their thoughts on this Sunapee series?
Yeah, I mean, Eric's pumped about it. We were sending back and forth some people's Stravas today from people checking out the course and what they thought of it, which people weren't all impressed with the routes, I think, on the trail. So Eric was mostly just saying that stuff was funny. Ben will be out here tomorrow. We ran together today, did some easy strides, that kind of stuff. He's pretty new to this stuff, but he comes from like a ski background, so he kind of understands all the physiology of it, but he's not come out to a ton of these, so I think he's just kind of more watching and like learning on it, I guess. We did, as the Northwoods thing, we're kind of excited about, we did open it up to like more of a club for anyone can join, so we will have some other people out here in like Northwoods jerseys racing, which we're pretty pumped about.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's super cool that this race is here. I live 25 minutes down the road, and I will say it's one of the smaller mountains in the area. So I've only run here once, just because it wouldn't make much sense for me to come here in terms of like training for vert and anything else. So it's interesting that it's here, but it's also super cool because it's a very tiny town and cool that people are out here.
Right on. Well, Dan, such a pleasure to have you on the preview show.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the insight. We'll make sure to give another shout out here, Northwoods Athletics. Check it out on the web, on Instagram, etc. And yeah, excited to watch your race unfold Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, sweet guys. Thank you for doing this. I think it's a good thing for the sport for sure.
Thanks, Dan.
Sweet. I don't know where Paul is, so I might.
Oh yeah, we got.
Is Alex there?
Alex is remoting in.
Promoting in.
I'm
Okay.
we are adding Alex, and I'm switching Alex to the main cam. I think we're good to go.
Awesome. Welcome, Alex.
Hello.
All right.
Alex, first question for you. You're a pro skier for Craftsbury, which I understand is up in northern Vermont. I've actually been to that area before. Super cool.
Yeah.
Talk about that lifestyle, and then on top of that, what made you get into the mountain running scene as well?
Yeah, so I'm on a professional Nordic team. We're based out of Craftsbury, and I mean, as far as lifestyle goes, I spend sort of the winter traveling around the US and Europe for races. And then in the summer and sort of fall, I'm mostly based out of Craftsbury, Vermont. And I work kind of at the center in exchange. They actually pay for or they help me with travel and stuff to ski races, which is really cool. And yeah, so I work there, I train there, and then I usually do a few sort of training camps elsewhere as well throughout the year and throughout the training season. But yeah, and I think as far as getting into running goes, running is really good training for skiing, and I've always really enjoyed it. And I think it has historically just kind of been a good way for me to check back into racing sort of throughout the summer, because I think that it's pretty important to stay in touch with that kind of mindset, and that, I don't know, it's different. You can do as many hard workouts as you want, and it's not quite the same as entering a race. So I think that's sort of where I started to get into trail running. And then, yeah, I'm hoping to approach it a little bit more seriously than just like a workout this year. But yeah.
Going back to Craftsbury just for a second, are you someone that enjoys that all-encompassing professional lifestyle where you're very singularly focused on your sport? Or just talk about how that experience has been so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think that can be like pretty hard, and I'm definitely not the type of person, like I like to do other things. And I think that is sort of another cool thing about Craftsbury. Because of working at the center, you do get to do other things. Like I organize a race series there, and I coach a group of masters there. And so I think you get to not be exclusively focused on your sport as well. And there's some other opportunities to interact with the community there and people that are not just sort of professional athletes.
Right on. Well, we definitely want to get into the focus of Sunapee this weekend as well. Lauren, what should we kick off with here for questions?
Oh man, I don't know much about skiing really, but I did race Alex at last year, and she was an absolute beast on that upper walking boss. Like I remember turning around and being very gassed and thinking like, oh man, she's a skier. I know she has much stronger legs than I do. Like I better just, put my head down and grind. So yeah, I guess how are you feeling about this and where you are compared to where you were like a little I guess under a year ago, because that was June. But yeah, how are you feeling?
I definitely had quite a bit more running under my belt at that point. I guess maybe I've been running for like 3 weeks now since ski season, and I don't really run at all in ski season other than maybe like a 20 or 30 minute jog. But I think I've done sort of the best that I could do at trying to increase some miles, get a bit of hill work in this spring I do also come off of ski season pretty exhausted from racing. So I'm also concurrently trying to rest from that too. But I think, I'm excited. I really have no idea. I think, yeah, I've done the best I can to set up for it, and I am pretty stoked to be here racing. But I think I won't really know until I get going.
That's a good place to be, leave it open.
Yeah.
Alex, one other question I wanted to ask you, and it's sort of a comment here first. I'm based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, and one athlete that I've really enjoyed following here in the local area is Sophia Laukli. And obviously she's had a ton of success on the Nordic scene, but she's also had this tremendous success in the trail scene. And I've always wanted to ask her, given this success you're having in trail, does it make you reevaluate which sport you prioritize? Have you ever gotten to that point where when you think about the success you're having in trail, it might actually supplant skiing and become the number one? Talk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year I started to see trail running as something that I could pursue potentially in the future. I think it's something where I take both sports kind of year to year and see what I'm liking more at the time. And I think that like right now, my main focus is for sure still skiing. But I think that like trail running is something that you can pursue pretty seriously alongside that without really impacting negatively either. But yeah, and I think also with sort of a focus on skiing as well, it helps me not get, I still get running injuries for sure, but I think that focus on cross training is something that can actually be really helpful for running as well.
Do you have other teammates at Craftsbury that take on a summer trail running season like you do?
A lot of my teammates do enter some of the races. None of them have. I don't know if you know Caitlin Patterson. She's not a teammate anymore, but she's actually going to race this weekend as well. And she has had quite a bit of success in trail running in the past. Right. So I think she'll be cool to see this weekend as well.
Brett, any questions for Alex?
How has these last 3 weeks of getting the running legs back under you gone?
It's gone well. I love running, so I think that when ski season's done, I'm pretty ready to not be thinking about skiing as much and start thinking about doing some other fun things outside. And so I've had a good time. I think that I've had to be pretty careful just because I will come out of skiing decently fit and I'll feel like, oh, I could run forever. And then I'll start running and I'll be like, oh, that doesn't, my body doesn't feel so good after that. And it's definitely something that you have to be a little careful with and sort of ease into. But I don't know. I've had a good time and it's been kind of a fun spring focus for me too.
Yeah, it seems like on the Venn diagram of like Nordic and running, like the overlap is the aerobic engine, but maybe a little bit on the other side. But yeah, you're right. You have to be really careful with not going straight into like an overuse type injury. You mentioned that you're also still kind of in that juggling of the recovery process from a long Nordic ski season. How many races did you have this past winter and spring on skis? Just so people know like what a ski season looks like.
A lot, probably just under 40, I would say. For us with ski racing, it's not uncommon to do 3 to 4 races kind of in a row, back to back. So I think you come out, the end of my season was pretty crazy race-wise. I came out pretty burnt out and ready to not be ski racing anymore for at least a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely different. It can be a lot.
Do you find there to be any sort of added pressure in terms of the performance on the running side when there are simply just less race opportunities that you, I guess, really get to ask from your body over the course of the season?
Yeah, I think it is different when your races are more spaced out or you have less chances to sort of perform. It's definitely each one takes on a little bit more weight. But I think similarly with skiing, there are some races that I might focus on a little bit more or try to peak a little bit more for. So I guess it's more if you took just those couple of really important ski races and put them into a season, then that would be kind of what I would see as how I think about each trail race.
Lauren, do you
sure.
have any follow-up questions for Alex?
None that I can think of. I guess we're both on the trail team together, so we already talked about that with Andy mostly, but it has been really cool to just learn more about, I guess the ski side of things, and then watching skiers just absolutely crush, and then trying to figure out how to get track runners into that space as well. So it's like a cool overlap that I've had a lot of fun, I guess, getting to see with you. So I'm super excited to see how you do.
Yeah.
Alex, I had one mindset question for you. When you think about the competitive part of your nature, in a secondary sport like mountain running, do you approach it in that same competitive spirit that you do with skiing, or does it feel more carefree and there's less pressure and there's less on the line in your mind? How do you think about that?
I think historically running has just been just fun. I've not put really any pressure on myself. I think that like going into this year, when I'm thinking about it a little bit more, I think I am taking it a bit more seriously. And like, obviously I want running to still be just fun and carefree and something that I just love doing. But like when I get out there, like, yeah, I want to do well. I'm going to compete. I'm going to go hard. And I think, we'll see. I think it will depend on how, I think that's something that sort of changes as I go through it, if that makes sense.
Of course, yeah. Well, you had a really impressive showing at last year's VK race. You missed the world's team by just one spot. I guess I have two questions here. A, if you had gotten a spot there, would you have taken it to Worlds? And then B, are you here for a world spot this time around?
I'm not sure whether I would have taken it or not. I think I probably would have, but that would have been something that I would have had to talk with my ski coach a bit about. And as of this year, like, yeah, I think that is something that it's a reach goal. Absolutely. It's something that I would be super stoked to get it. And I also think that I would be understanding if I was a ways off from that spot, just based on the amount I've been running so far. So, that is something that I would love to qualify for and would definitely go to if I was able to do that.
Right on. Well, Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the preview show. I know I'm personally excited to watch your race. Brett or Lauren, any final thoughts or any final questions for Alex before we transition?
Yeah. My last question was going to be just about the Worlds team, but we're excited to follow along tomorrow and hopefully be calling your name out there.
I'm also wondering what your plan is for the summer, if you have anything else on the race plan.
I'm hoping to do Pikes Peak kind of near the end. And then I am hoping to race probably one of the Golden Series races kind of midsummer in Europe is my thought. But haven't totally worked out which one yet. But yeah.
Well, that's an awesome tentative plan.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, Alex, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and great to meet.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Best of luck.
Bye, Alex.
Bye.
Quick station identification here. If you're listening or viewing out there, this is the pre-race interviews for the U.S. Mountain Running Championships live from Sunapee, New Hampshire, joined by colleagues Lauren Gregory and Brett Hornig. I believe we have two more interviews left on the docket, one with Megan Lacey and one with Adrian McDonald. And I believe this is Megan Lacey joining us right now. Megan, welcome to the preview show. How's it going?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you guys doing?
Doing awesome.
Great.
Doing awesome. That's a cool fleet feature, by the way. I dig it.
Oh, thank you. Myself and my fiance / coach, we actually own this fleet beat. So I'm repping myself today.
That's so cool.
I didn't have it on our questions list here, but I have to ask, talk about the experience of your fiance also being your coach. How does that work? Has it been a successful relationship? Walk us through that.
Yeah, it's actually been awesome. We kind of just fell into that. My other coaching situation kind of just wasn't fully working out for me. I was on Idaho Distance Project for a while, and I just kind of wanted to switch things up. And I basically was like, "Will you coach me for a little bit?" And I ended up doing a 2-minute 10K PR within 3 months. So I was like, "This is pretty awesome." So I work a lot, so I actually think it's really awesome to have somebody that kind of sees my day-to-day stress. That kind of like knows kind of when I maybe need to scale stuff back, where I wouldn't necessarily tell a coach that.
Yes. What do you do for work, by the way?
I have a tech startup. So I'm the CEO of a company called Lumini, and we
Wow.
make through wall sensing device to basically help with disaster response and for de-escalation for first responders.
Oh my, that is so okay. I know this is supposed to be a running show, but that is so cool. Like, what's the genesis of all that? How'd you get into that?
Yeah, I actually, this is all kind of running related because I went to Boise State because I went to Stanford for undergrad and I was injured there a lot. And I decided to kind of switch it up for grad school, went over to Boise State, took a master's program that didn't actually have a full course load. And I needed to be an NCAA athlete and needed a full course load. So I took a class where we were trying to make through wall sensors and accidentally started a company. So that was about 7 years ago. And then I got actually back into running when I was running the startup. We actually went through Y Combinator, which is like a startup accelerator.
Paul Graham, yeah.
Yeah. And so we went through that. And I decided that I needed to start training again because I just felt like as a startup founder, I didn't really have normalcy to my life because I was just kind of working all the time. And so I wanted that like Wednesday workout, Saturday workout, Sunday long run type of schedule so that I could like tell what day it was. And I actually started running really fast. And I qualified for the Olympic trials when I was in YC. I think I'm the only startup founder to ever do that. So I think that's cool.
Well, this is amazing for many reasons, but we were just talking with Alex Lawson a moment ago, and she comes out of that Craftsbury scene where she's living and breathing this sport full time, and here you are, a tech CEO, and you're also at the high end of the sport. Has this for you been something that has not only worked but been desirable? Like, do you like having another competing responsibility and stress in your life alongside running?
Yeah, I think it's been really helpful. So I've been running competitively for 21 years. And when I went to Stanford, I fully intended to be a professional runner. That was like absolutely what I wanted to do. And I think I was a little bit too obsessed with that, to be honest. And I think that having a job really helped me kind of get that balance back, where now I like running is something I love doing. And that's why I compete. And I think that sometimes the stress can be kind of bad. And I've worked actually on getting some of the stress out. Like there was probably too much stress like last year and the few years before that. And so I've kind of worked on getting a better work-life balance where I can really like be a professional athlete, but like also like run my company.
Brett, any questions for Megan?
I'm just blown away by the amount of hats that you wear and like wearing them so fashionably, I would say.
Well, thank you.
So you own a Fleet Feet franchise as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
My first ever job was at a Fleet Feet.
Oh,
So
awesome.
Which one? Got a good Fleet Feet Pleasanton down in the Bay Area.
Cool.
What's the day-to-day been like running a specialty run shop in an I guess ever so increasingly competitive market, outside much of brick and mortar? I mean, you're getting blasted from all angles for competing for sales. How's that been?
Yeah, so that's actually been like my fiance's like lifelong dream, to be honest. So he's the one that's running it day to day. I lead the marketing team. So I do a lot of like the social media and the email marketing and website stuff and all of that. And then help him kind of when he needs it. But we actually just acquired the store August 1st. So it's been about 8 months and it's been
very new. Okay.
Super awesome for us. So yeah, last year was kind of crazy, but he's been working in run specialty for 15 years and he's worked at the Nashville stores and the stores in the Northwest and everything. And he started at Fleet Feet Elmhurst. So we've been doing it I guess he's been doing it for a while. And so I've been really enjoying like how much crossover the skill set, it kind of like blends the best of both worlds for me, because like at Lumini, I have like the small business startup background and running is like the thing I love more than anything. And so like it's pretty cool that actually like now we have like a business. And we also have a race that we put on. So we put on our own trail race last year. And so that was really fun. And so just being able to like blend the running and business side of things has been like super cool in the last few years.
Yeah,
Oh my
I agree.
gosh.
It's very fulfilling for sure.
Yeah.
You might be the most interesting person in our sport.
I don't know about that, but thank you.
I guess how has training been with all of this thrown in?
Yeah, I mean, training's been awesome. I've never really, the way I got into mountain running was I made the team in 2021, and I just did that in the middle of a marathon build, and I was kind of pleasantly shocked. And so last year I didn't have as good of a year, and this year I just really focused on trail running the entire year. So I've just been really focused on this race. I'm doing the race on Sunday, and I've just been, I mean, it's been going really well. I've been doing more vert than I've ever done in my entire life, and my body's been responding really well. I think another big thing is I've been healthy. I really struggled with being healthy in college, and I've been healthy now for like 3.5 years. And I think I've just been building the miles over and over. So I'm really excited.
Brett, any other questions for Megan?
Just curious, have you had a chance to preview Sunday's course? I would love to just kind of hear your breakdown on, what do you think some of the most exciting or difficult spots of the course are going to be?
Yeah. Well, I think the whole course is really exciting. I was able to run it like twice so far. And I think the descent is going to be really interesting. There's a really nice technical spot. And then I'm just watching the weather because the mud is going to be interesting. The whole mud snow combo. So the descent, I think the descent's kind of spicy because of the weather.
coming from I guess a flatter, faster background, how do you feel, or how's your prep been for something like a more technical descent?
Yeah, I've kind of sought out technical descents this season. So I live in Boise, Idaho now, which I guess that's where Meridian is. But there's a few different spots. You kind of have to drive to them. But I was fortunate that we had a lot of snow this year, so I didn't really like running in the snow, but I guess it was good training.
Most definitely.
Megan, I have to put you on the spot here. We were talking with Andy Wacker earlier in this preview episode about the trail team and encouraging more athletes to immediately transition after their college career to the trail running scene. And you mentioned that you work in marketing for this Fleet Feet franchise. You are a startup founder, so you have experience pitching. What is your pitch? If you could pitch to collegiate athletes making this transition to the sport, how would you do it? How would you structure that elevator pitch?
That's a good question. I have all my other elevator pitches memorized. But I think that it's like everything that you could want in track and more. It's just so much more fun. I mean, that's like the big thing. Like you take all the paces and you throw them out the window and you just try and run as hard as you can up and down the mountain, and you get awesome views at the top, even if you run up slow. So it's like, you really can't lose. I think, especially coming from the fast background. And if you're feeling a little bit burnt out on PRs after college, I think just give it a go. And if you don't like it, you can always go back to the track.
I love it. Well, Brett has been asking this question all day, and most of the athletes have been playing their cards close to their chest. Are you a sponsored athlete?
No, I'm not sponsored, so I can tell you the shoes. I've been listening. So I am wearing the Solomon Pulsar 2s, and that is because after the national championship last year, Andy sent me a pair because I just fell like a million times because I wasn't even really wearing trail shoes. And he was just like, you need a pair of shoes. And so I love those. And so I'm wearing those again.
Right on.
Seems like a good footwear choice.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with them.
Only going up from here.
Yeah, I know. Last year I just fell so many times that it's like, can't be worse than that.
Absolutely not.
Solid improvement.
Well, Megan, it's been an awesome opportunity to get to know you. We're excited for your race, and obviously also best of luck with the Fleet Feet franchise and the startup.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I guess Well, first of all, Brett or Lauren, any final questions for Megan?
I mean, we need like an entire podcast.
I know we probably need to. Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited to watch you, Megan.
Yeah,
I'm super
thanks. I really appreciate your questions.
Megan, do you have any final thoughts or calls to action for the viewers and listeners out there on any topic? It could be running, it could be your startup, it could be Fleet Feet.
Well, I mean, if you could follow Fleet Feet Meridian on Instagram, that would be awesome. But outside of that, I think like if you haven't ran trails, I would just encourage you to, kind of to the point that you were talking about with track and everything, because they're just awesome, and you just will not regret it.
Cool. Well, awesome, Megan. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
All right, I think
we've got Adrian McDonald up next.
Yes.
And then Max and then Corey.
Okay, Max and Corey as well. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so we actually have 3 left. Adrian, how's it going?
Hey guys, I'm
Great.
well.
Great to see you again. And it's good to be in familiar company. I think you're the first bona fide ultra runner that we've talked with all day. I feel very comfortable now.
Oh, good.
You guys got this.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
Adrian, one of the first questions I want to ask you here, you commented on social media, if it wasn't yesterday, it was a few days ago, that these races at Sunapee this weekend, they're not necessarily in your wheelhouse, but at the same time, you are interested in making one of these world's teams. Talk about the delta between your desire to make a team and your skill set, and whether there are certain either intangibles or skills that you have to actually make it work at the end of the day.
Yeah. So I'm actually racing in Argentina in 2 weeks. It's about 80 miles. It's UTMB World Series. I think it's Valhalla.
Okay.
So like I'm in really good shape. I do a lot of my like training gets me pretty fit to do anything. It's just I know like the caliber of athletes that are here, like they're just sort of faster at running uphill than I am. But like I said, like I think I'm good at I've like getting better over the last couple of years at just running trails. So I think I'll be able to make up some ground there, and just my general fitness.
From what I understand, you came down in distance earlier this year. You had a pretty impressive half marathon. If it wasn't in February, was it March? Talk about that experience, and did that give you any confidence to sign up for these races?
Yeah, so that was it was just 2 weeks ago, the Horsetooth Half
okay.
in Fort Collins, where I'm based. And yeah, it's at altitude, and it's a really hilly course. I think it's like 700 feet of gain in the first 2 miles, and then you sort of drop down and finish in town. And yeah, I was pretty happy with it. It was like probably like I've run a few road half marathons, and that's probably the best performance I've had at that distance. So it's exciting.
Cool.
I do attribute some of that to like the new super shoes that you can use on the roads and everything. But yeah, I'm excited about my fitness.
What'd you use? What was your super shoe of choice?
Oh, On has one. It's the Cloud Boom Echo 3. It's not, I think it's coming out later this summer. Helen O'Beary's already on the next iteration of it. But
So
I
it
like
works.
it. Yeah.
Brett, have you gotten your hands on that shoe yet?
No, hopefully soon. Yeah, I think it was like a June or July release, but that one looks pretty fun.
Yeah.
What will you be racing in this weekend?
It is the Cloud Venture Peak 3, I think.
The newest one that just came out.
Yeah, and we've had it. We got it in the middle last summer, so I raced Cirque Series in it last summer. It's a fun shoe. Yeah.
Yeah, super light, very
Yeah.
nimble.
Adrian, if I recall correctly, you are a native New Englander, I think Massachusetts area. Does this feel like a homecoming for you? Do you have experience on these trails prior to this weekend trip?
Yeah, I grew up outside of Boston, so I'm a little familiar with like trail running in New England, though I didn't really start trail running until I moved to Colorado. But I do come back. Like last summer, I came out for Mount Washington, and then I did some running in the White Mountains then, and I went out and ran Mount Katahdin
Nice.
last July, and I think that might be what helps me the most on Sunday, because I was like sliding down Mount Katahdin. It was like a stormy, rainy day.
What trail did you take up on that?
Shoot,
Was it
I
the
think-
Hunt Trail?
I think it's the one that the AT goes on.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
That's a gnarly route.
I think they're all gnarly. I chickened out on the knife edge that last time.
Yep. Yep. Lauren, any questions for Adrian?
Yeah, I guess I don't know the ultra fitness very well, but I saw that you were entered in both days. Do you think that having more of that endurance is going to help you recover for the following day?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe compared to the other people, but I'm sure some will be going in fresh too.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess did that give you confidence in signing up for both?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna do both, and then a week and a half ago, I asked my coach, and he's like, "Yeah, that sounds good. I'll beat up your legs a little bit for last big weekend before Argentina."
Sweet. So you're kind of treating this as a tune-up for more or
Yeah,
less.
a little bit, but like I'm
Nice.
just like in peak fitness now, so it'll be good.
How
Great.
emotionally invested are you in the outcome of this race? Like, are you envisioning a schedule for the rest of the summer that revolves around this race, or is it kind of like a nice to have and there's some other priority A event out there for you?
Yeah, so I think it's like the A race for this spring is Argentina in 2 weeks, and this
Okay.
like I want to do well, but like I said, I'm not. This isn't like my best event, but
What does the rest of the year look like?
I'm doing UTMB, so
Nice.
that's the big goal for this year.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's really exciting, obviously.
Right on. Right on. Well, Adrian, this has been great. I'm just looking through our questions here. Oh, go ahead. Go. Yeah.
How was training in Fort Collins this winter?
Lauren's from Fort Collins too.
Reppin'.
It's been really snowy, which like usually I feel like the trails were covered all of March, which like usually isn't the case.
Yeah. Icy?
Yeah, like there's that one spot right going up to Horsetooth where you like go from trail to rock, and
Yeah.
that's been just like a
That's usually,
luge. Yeah.
It always is. It's such a weird angle that you're just
Yeah.
holding on to nothing.
Yeah, and it might be a couple of weeks longer than normal to get up into the real big mountains, but hopefully it keeps the fire away.
I feel like Fort Collins kind of flies under the radar in the trail scene. I think Boulder gets a lot of love. The Springs get a lot of love, but you're out there, man. You're sort of the poster person for Fort Collins. So what's the pitch? Why should more trail runners be based out of Fort Collins?
Did she shush?
Keep it on the down low.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a terrible place. Don't go there. There's no single track.
No.
Yeah. No, it's great. I think it's a little more laid back than Boulder. What I've said is that I don't know, I moved there from Boston, and in like a big city like Boston, there's so many runners, but you end up like pegged in with people that like run a marathon within like 2 or 3 minutes of you. And I found in Fort Collins that it's just like there's the community allows you to meet so many different people with different running backgrounds, and that's how I eventually ended up in like running 100-mile races and trail running is because the community is so welcoming. And I ran into people that had run 100 miles, and I was like, if he can do it, I can do it.
If you're helping someone who's coming through town pick a trail to do or pick a race to do, what's the trail that they have to run when they're coming through town, and what's the race that they have to do?
So my good friend Nick Clark and his business partner Brad Bishop they own NAR Runners, and they put on a bunch of really good trail races. Next weekend is the Quad Rock, which sort of gives you the full tour of Horsetooth Mountain Park and Laurie State Park, which are adjoining trail systems. So that gives you a really good taste of trail running in Fort Collins.
Right on.
You do Towers 4 times for that? Is Towers Road a part of that course?
Yeah, probably in the 50 mile you get a lot of towers.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a brutal race. Very cool. Yeah, I like Audra. I think that's my favorite trail in Horsetooth.
Yeah, that's sort of the sneaky back way up. That
yeah, it's so pretty, and you get that nice view of Longs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do miss that.
Yeah, that's the route Nick always takes me on.
Yeah, it is sneaky.
Adrian, maybe one last question for me. Talk about the experience to date being on the trail running team. I know that a lot of folks in trail are familiar with Hoka, Ultra, Nike, Solomon. Is starting to build more name recognition in the community. Talk about the experience so far and the gear and whatnot.
It's been great. And what's exciting for the trail team is previously the shoe engineers and clothing designers, they were like doing road stuff and trail stuff. And recently in the past 6 or 9 months, they've hired a team to focus just on like trail running and hiking. So they're giving us a lot more attention. And sort of a side note, they brought us out to New Zealand back in February, which was really cool. And we got to meet with one of the engineers who's working on all that. And there's some cool concepts that they're coming out with. So there's all that, and then just sort of the whole company and like how invested they are in like track and marathons, like seeing Helen O'Beary win the Boston Marathon and on shoes was really cool, and just sort of exciting to be a part of that.
Right on. Well, yeah. Hey, as somebody who is a fan of ultra running in particular, it's great to see you mixing it up in these events over the weekend. I'm sure Brett feels the same. Do you have any final thoughts or calls to action for the listeners before we conclude up here?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm hoping that I'll surprise myself a little bit. I've done it before, and maybe the other people out there racing will too.
I gotta follow up on that. When was the last time you surprised yourself? What happened? What did that feel like? Where did it happen?
I won Leadville in my first shot at 100 miles.
Right on.
Incredible.
Cool. Well, Adrian, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, and we're excited to follow your race tomorrow and Sunday.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Who's up next?
We're supposed to pass it up to Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to just dock that mic there in the stand.
Oh, cool. He's right here.
Oh, I guess we could hand it off then in that case.
Sweet, thanks.
Hi, Max.
Hi.
Max.
How's it going?
You're not named Adrian.
Nope, we can change
There you
that.
go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I had it
better,
queued up, ready to go.
Wow, that was quick, Brett.
Top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a producer now.
Oh, nice. It's a new
Turns
gig.
out.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
hey, I mean, you've impressed me so far with that. I mean, you're doing well. You're doing well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we're just Finn needed a nature break. He's back. There's no way he washed his hands. 0% chance he washed his hands.
I thought he just saw me on. He's like, just dropped the mic and walked away.
I'm out of here. Well, I thought we were gonna have another minute. I was gonna ask you how you felt about all these kids from your alma mater high school just running so stupidly fast now.
That's a really good question. I should probably pay more attention to that.
So I guess
I know Tyrone has run stupidly fast.
He broke the indoor high school record for the 5K.
Was incredible. That was awesome. So I mean, I can't even imagine running that fast in high school. That would have been nice, but I didn't. So
for those who are listening, Max King comes from one of the best running high schools in all of the U.S. actually, and it's pretty cool that it's still crushing it.
Yeah.
Crater High School has been pretty good for.
They've been good for a long time. I was not there in the same era, and it was a very different era when I was there.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's still
Did you have any school records at the time?
I don't think I did. I had maybe like a one of the years, like my sophomore year or something, 1500 meter, but I never had a school record. I missed the school record in the 3K by 2 seconds, I think, and it was quite a bit in the 1500. I was not fast in high school. It didn't come until later. So
when did the turn like towards getting fast? When did that happen for you? Like when was your like pivotal moment?
It was like a lot of really hard work in college. So
yeah,
coming in freshman year was okay. Sophomore year was decent. And then I found the steeplechase, right? And so that's when things kind of turned for me. As like cross country had always been pretty decent. But then once I found the steeplechase, first year I ran steeple. I was like a provisional qualifier for the NCAA's Division I in the steeple. And that was a level that I never thought I would ever get to. And so then the next year that just rolled into a lot more confidence for me and stuff, and was able to kind of like make that work for me in cross country as well. Made the national championships then as well, and then got back into steeplechase NCAA's the next year. So that kind of like started rolling, and I was at the level of like decent but not great. And then it took a while after college, after some time off and some more just allowing all of that college work to kind of sink in before I really like started getting like finding my place in this world.
Yeah.
Max, you mentioned hard work there a moment ago, and I'm curious if you reflect back on your career to date, what do you think has been the differentiator in your career in terms of what makes you great compared to all the other professional, excellent athletes out there?
Honestly, I've always kind of said like, I've just kind of stuck at it longer, and I like a lot of people, my generation, there are a lot of really good guys from my generation, right? And they just like you get injured and you need to have a real job, or you get injured and you kind of fall off. And I feel like a lot of times it's just that, just sticking it out. And I've always had like this passion for running, and that's what has always kept me coming back to it. And I'm not saying they don't have that, but I feel like that's what's kept me in it. And so when I do get injured, I find a way to get past that and keep going, and then keep working on that fitness and everything and getting better. The other thing is like, I mean, I don't know if you know too much about my history, but it's been track and road and cross country and mountain running and obstacle racing and adventure racing. I'm always doing something different. And for me, like, I think a lot of people look at me and say, man, if you just focus on one thing, you'd be so good. But it's like, if I focused on one thing, I'd be out of the sport a long time ago because I would have like been so bored. So part of it is just, I'm always motivated to try that next thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm always learning. Like I jump into a new race or a new discipline, like ultra road racing, and it's like find new things to learn. And I get to where I've learned things from that, and then I jump back over to mountain running, and I'm always kind of like jumping back and forth because I'm always learning new things, and that's what really keeps me motivated.
Where is your curiosity right now?
That's a good question. Like recently I've started to be like, I wonder what I could do in a marathon as a masters runner. So like, I've got plans for this year of like doing mountain running championships, hopefully in Austria, this weekend, Breakneck Point next weekend. But then through the summer, I'm doing a couple of adventure races. I want to try doing the 24-hour Rogaine World Championships, which is in Tahoe this year, which is orienteering stuff. And then I'm thinking about jumping into the New York Marathon in November if they'll let me in. So we'll see.
I love talking about the history of the sport. And you mentioned your generation of trail runners. When you reflect back on the people that you came into the sport with, who are some of your favorites, particularly your favorite people to compete against, and why?
Well, I mean, I wasn't actually just talking about the trail runners. I was talking about all the runners, and it's guys like Adam Goucher and that generation of guys who they're really good runners. I'm trying to just like bring up some names and remember, but like honestly, I have a hard time with names. Honestly, it's like terrible. So, but it's those kind of guys, the guys that were coming out of CU at the time and stuff, and just Wisconsin, CU, Arkansas. They were producing really, really good teams and a lot of really good runners, and they were having a lot of like good success, not just on a national stage, but at the world stage. Like Ritzenhein's a really good example.
Yeah.
Guys who I was running against at that point, Ryan Hall, all great runners. And to ever think that I would be at that level, be able to compete with some of these guys in college, it was not even in my mind. And then getting out of out of college and then starting my pro career, that's when I started to kind of start to think like, oh, I can run with some of these guys sometimes.
I got to preface this question with an obscure reference. One of my favorite movies is Hot Tub Time Machine. There's this concept called the Great White Buffalo, the one that got away. And when you apply that to a race context, like you're one of the most decorated, successful athletes in our sport, but there have been, I'm sure, some events where you wish you could have gotten more out of yourself in either the sub-ultra scene or the ultra scene. What are some of those races where you think you might take another crack in the next 5 to 10 years because there's unfinished business there?
I mean, another crack at some of these is possible, and another crack at some of those races for me is not even possible anymore. There's so many, Finn. I mean, it's like there's so many races out there and things that I've done in my past that I'm just like, man, I think I could do a little bit better. The 100K World Championships is a great example. I'd love to see get back to that. I mean, after Jim took my national record a couple years ago, I was like, man, can I do that again? Can I get back to that level? And I don't know, but I mean, part of me wants to find out and see if I could actually get back to that level for the 100K. So that's on my mind too. And so maybe that fall marathon is working toward that road again. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, I've asked too many questions. I'll shut up now. Brad or Lauren, you guys got anything?
I do have one on this topic. I guess, what motivated you to want to do the vertical and the classic this year? Was it just, you did the 40K in Thailand, and then did you get FOMO watching the VK happen and you're like, I want to go after it? Or is this just a part of quadrupling at Worlds or something?
No,
Master plan.
I always get FOMO whenever I see a race. Like Western does the same thing to me every time Western comes around. I was like, oh, maybe I should do Western again. No, I need to do something else. No, it's like, actually, so you should know I'm not doing the vertical tomorrow. I'm going to focus just on the up down. But at the same time, like that's kind of like uncharacteristic for me. I'm doing Breakneck Point next weekend. But I love the up down courses. That's what I've always loved when I'm doing mountain running. I always focus more on the up down courses. And previously it used to be every other year, right? Up down one year, vertical the next year. And so now having them on both years, it's kind of interesting. But I love the up down. I love going down. I need the down. That's what like helps me like pass a few more runners. And so like I'm just focused on that this weekend. I'm gonna see if I can make the team. I actually haven't decided like if I do make it this weekend, like whether like I do this one or the 40K next weekend. I just have to see like if I can make it happen next weekend. If I get both spots, like which one I pick, because I won't be able to do both at Worlds. The way it lines up on the schedule at Worlds, it doesn't make sense. The 40K is earlier than the other two shorter races, so it would be the 40K then the up down race, and I'm going to be trashed after the 40K, so I won't be able to do both. I'll have to pick, and what I pick, I don't know. It's like I really kind of want to focus right now, kind of on a track season maybe, and do a couple of really fast things. And so the up down is a little more conducive to that. But at the same time, it's like, I kind of think that 40K distance is probably, I'm probably more competitive there as well. And then I was telling Nancy earlier, who's right now taking a picture of me right here. I want to run against the Ugandans again on the up down course, because I did that back in 2011. And it was a ton of fun. And so kind of want to run against them again too. So many things. It's like, just can't do them all,
Not enough time.
Max, I got to ask this question because you're one of the most versatile athletes of all time. Would you ever do a long trail FKT or a 200-mile race?
Ooh, like a long trail. You're talking
like Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail.
I mean, I've certainly given some thought.
Really?
Yeah, it's it's running, right? Anything running related, I'm enticed with. But I've got to like look at like what I realistically can do in terms of like my lifestyle too. And that kind of thing, like doing a long trail, it's really hard with a family. I mean, it obviously takes several months to do, especially with the preparation and stuff like that. And I've always like put that on the back burner and said, I mean, maybe at some point later, but probably by the time I get around to it, I'll be too old to actually do it. What I'd actually love to do though is start doing something like a long trail with like one of my kids and just hike it. And do it that way. Those long trail FKTs, I know how brutal they can be, and I just don't know if I'm cut out for it, honestly. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, one more thing I want to make sure we cover. You helped start this youth trail initiative as part of the USATF MUT exec committee. I want to make sure that listeners and viewers are aware of the work you're doing there and any ways that they can become involved or just help spread the news. So, what's the elevator pitch for it, and just educate the audience more on what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, the idea, right, is that we want more youth in this sport. I think a lot of youth don't know about mountain running out there and trail running, and so we want them to be aware of it. So the idea behind this is to just get more youth into the sport. They know about track, they know about cross country, and this is basically a system where any trail race in the country, whether you have one trail race or it's a series of trail races that you own, we have a badge for you that you can put onto your website, and it just says Youth Trail on it. And the idea behind that is it draws in the youth. And there's a couple of things that we're asking for race directors to do along with that is have a course that is youth appropriate, which is, 10 miles or so and under. Something that they can wrap their head around. I think a lot of kids have a hard time thinking, like they think about trail running and they just think 100-mile ultras. But there are so many opportunities for kids to run in that 5K to 10K trail distance out there that they just don't know exists. So that's the idea. Make them aware of these trail races that they can actually run and wrap their heads around. So have a race distance, give them a discount, not mandatory, but obviously, if you're getting some youth into your race, that's what we're trying to do is hopefully make it more attainable to them and their parents. A lot of road races also have a youth discount for them. So same sort of thing. And most of the race directors I've actually talked to already have that in place. And then on the flip side, so what we do at ATRA is put that, you put your, on the calendar of the ATRA calendar, we have the race that has that youth badge on their website, and then we tag it with the youth tag so that they can search by which races are youth appropriate, by whatever month, location, things like that, so that the streak kind of goes both ways. We're trying to just, there's so many races out there that are youth appropriate that may not have like kids that know about it, and so we're trying to get it so that kids have a place to go to say, oh, I'm interested in trail running. I'm going to search on the internet, trail running. ATRA pops up. They have the calendar that they can look at. They can learn more about the sport. And then from there, they can then go to that calendar and find those races in their area that are appropriate for them, that they want to do. So
awesome. Well, goes without saying, but thank you so much for the work you're doing in this area to grow the sport. We'll make sure to, if there's a chance to link to any of this in the show notes or the description of this live stream, we'll do so. Lauren or Brett, any final questions or comments before we wrap up this interview?
Will you be taping your ankles in classic Max King fashion for Sunday? That video just came across my Instagram feed.
Did you just see it?
Max King, Luco taping his ankles. I'm like,
you have to, man. You have to. It's like mandatory. I can't believe people don't tape their ankles. Like, how do you have ankles that hold up through that stuff? So yeah, I tape my ankles all the time. And this course is going to require a little extra tape.
This is a double layer course.
Oh, no, this is like a triple layer course. Yeah.
Incredible.
Okay,
I don't know if you guys have seen this course, but it is gnarly. Like it's rough. So there are going to be some injuries. It's going to be great.
Max, this one is for the shoe nerds out there. What is the greatest trail shoe of all time you've ever worn, and why is it the Montreal Rogue FKT?
Actually, I love that shoe. That's a great shoe. Oh man, a great trail shoe ever. I don't know. That's too tough. I can't even answer that one. You're putting too much pressure on me right there. So, I mean, honestly though, like the reason so many trail shoes exist is because they're made for different things, right? And so like that's like, okay, I'm a Solomon athlete. I've got to plug them a little bit, but that's part of the reason I love Solomon is they have a specific shoe for every trail condition out there, right? They have like the Cross, which is like huge lugs and no cushioning for like the muddiest course you could ever run on. It's just like so specific. I mean, we have an amphibious shoe that's specifically made for swim runs. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. What will we see you in on Sunday?
I'm gonna wear the S-Lab Pulsar soft ground. So and honestly, that's my racing shoe. It's awesome. It's lightweight, it's flexible, it's snug fitting. It's probably the best trail racing shoe that I've ever raced in. So
that's saying something.
Yeah.
I've raced in a lot of trail shoes. So
well, Max, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for everything you're doing to advance the sport. And I just saw that comment pop up the Luke.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Pretty good. But I mean, I wouldn't refuse a sponsorship from Lugo Tape. So
all right. We'll put a word out for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Max, seriously, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Thanks for laughing with us, and we're excited to follow your race this weekend.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, guys. It's going to be an awesome weekend of trail running and mountain running. So stay tuned.
Absolutely. Cool. Good luck.
Thanks.
A little bit of station identification again. This is the preview show, the pre-race interviews for the U.S. Mountain Running Champs in Sunapee, New Hampshire, this coming Saturday and Sunday. And we now have Corey Dow joining us. Corey, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, thank you. It's exciting to be here.
Where are you phoning in from, videoing in from?
My parents' house in like the Seacoast area of New Hampshire.
Okay, right on. And
yeah.
you do spend time in North Conway, if I understand correctly?
Yeah, I'm from I live up in North Conway. Yeah.
Okay. I got to tell a quick story. I'm based in Salt Lake City, Utah currently, but have family in the Portland, Maine area. And every single time I fly back east, the first thing I do is I hop in my car and I go to Pinkham Notch and get a hiker run in, because that is, I think, one of the best kept secret hiking and trail running spots in the whole country.
Yeah, I love it up there. So.
Talk about the lifestyle up there and just how you craft out time to train and where you train and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I'm a teacher, and so I kind of just run more locally to like where I live and near the school, like during the school year, and then can actually get out into the fun stuff in the summertime or on breaks. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trail, a lot of mountain. I don't know. There's just a lot of different options, which is fun. So,
what are your favorite go-to routes in that North Conway area?
I really like, if I'm just trying to look for normal like flat trails and stuff, I like the Marshall Conservation Trails, which are mountain bike. I like a lot of the mountain bike trails. I'll run on those.
Okay.
There's some mountain bike trails that are over in like the Hurricane Mountain Zone too. I really love Black Cap and Cranmore. I'll do kind of where I live. I can easily do Black Cap and Cranmore and get like a little 8-mile loop in, which is, I don't like to do a lot more than that. And then I really like South Moat as well, although they recently changed the trail and I don't really like the changes as much, but it's still like awesome views. So
right on.
Those are my favorites. Yeah.
Right on. Well, it's great to have you here. And we're excited to dive into some of your prep and just your thoughts around Sunapee. Lauren, do you have any specific questions for Corey?
Yeah, I guess I haven't seen you since Thailand, and there's been a full winter in between, November and now. So how has your winter training been leading up into this earlier trail race, I guess?
Yeah, it's been kind of weird. I mean, this is the first time that I trained for winter track and spring track, all through high school and college, but this is my first time actually trying to train somewhat throughout the winter. In a while, because usually I use these like March and April races just for like workouts to get back into running shape, or like not running, just racing shape. So, and this winter was also in my opinion, the worst winter to train in that I've ever had. So I don't know, it's been fine. I tried to be like laid back about it and fit in what I could. And I'm not somebody who's super high mileage, and I don't like running to feel like it's taking over. And so I just did what I could do that day. And when there was a big snowstorm and the trails were junk and the roads were junk, I just like had fun on the trails anyways, so that I didn't get hit by a car on the road. And yeah, I don't know. It's
that
now,
like, maybe the snow will play in your favor this weekend. Sounds
yeah,
like
hopefully.
Like the junkier trails or the junkier roads might actually like absolutely play into your cards.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I love like techie, messy trails and stuff. I'd rather have that than it be like smooth and easy. So more fun that way.
Mindset to have.
Yeah.
Brett, what's on your mind? Any questions?
I was curious if you've had a chance to preview the course this year.
I previewed like part of it a couple weeks ago. I went out there before they made the final like changes. So I've seen part of the uphill, and then I cut up the ski trail, which was still super snowy, and I didn't continue on the maintenance road part, but I mean, it's just probably more of the maintenance road. And then I didn't see the downhill. Well, I just went straight down the mountain for kind of like what the map was looking like. And when I did that, I was like, there's no way this is going to be what we're doing, because it's just not safe in any way. And it was super steep. And I think the way that we're going, I mean, from what it sounds like, everybody still says it sounds really gnarly and stuff. But I imagine just from what I know of the mountain or seen the mountain, it must be like at least a little bit less steep. I don't know. But maybe not. And if so, it's still going to be fun. I've at least like seen the mountain. I haven't seen the full course. I'm going to go tomorrow and cheer. And so I'll get to scope it out a little. I haven't decided fully if I'm going to hike and see it, or I don't know what I'm going to do yet.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah.
Corey, one of the interesting things about your weekend is you've elected to just do the up-down race on Sunday. Most folks that we've talked to have elected to race both events. Walk us through your decision to specialize and focus in that up-down.
Yeah. Obviously, like I have a goal in my mind of trying to make the team. And if I want to try to make the team, I think I don't really have much of a shot in the vertical. I love the downhills. And so the classic is I just wanted to like focus on, even though I know like just the vert doesn't take as much out of your legs, I just figured I'd do if I can not do it and maybe save my legs in the tiniest bit. I do that. And also the just vert stuff just isn't as fun for me. Although it is nice that you get to the top and you can take a picture and like enjoy the views. Although I don't know what with what the weather's looking like this weekend. I don't know what there will be for views, but so mainly I didn't think I had a shot in the vert at all. And I have a small shot in the up down. So, and the up down, it's more fun, but I do love if it was up down and then vertical the second day, I would absolutely do both because I love racing and I'd rather like if there's 4 races in a row, I'd do that. But
that would actually be super interesting to make everyone then run the vertical on tired legs.
Yeah, I mean, it would be harder.
That would change things up a lot, yeah.
But yeah.
Let's see. Question I had for you. Just going back to the Worlds team last year in Thailand, what were like some overall highlights from that trip? I guess it's kind of a unique experience. There aren't too many trail opportunities over the course of the year where you also get that close-knit team experience, kind of like going back to like college or high school training days.
Yeah, I think like it was obviously cool to be in another country and like see the culture of Thailand, and all the Thai people were so friendly, but it was also really cool to just be a part of the US team and be with all of those like-minded individuals and like to meet everybody. It was just everybody was so friendly and nice, and it was cool. It kind of felt like a little vacation, even though it was for this really serious thing, but it was just, I don't know, different. And it was a vacation from school for me. So that was, it was nice. So.
Did you leave Thailand like immediately putting this Innsbruck qualifier on your schedule, or had this kind of always been a part of your plan?
I definitely like, had this like idea of I'd like to be able to do this again. So
yeah, for sure.
If I can.
Corey, I have to put you on the spot because, and this is a self-serving question, I'm one of the clunkiest downhill runners of all time. If you see me out there, it's a sad sight. How can I become a better downhill runner? What as someone who has this skill set, how do you advise people that want to get better in this category of trail running?
The thing I always think about is just like hips forward, and just like trusting your steps. That's what I go with. That's what I learned back in high school when we did these, like our state champs course was on like a little mini ski slope thing in Manchester. And we used to go there and we do downhill workouts. Well, not like downhill. We just practice the downhill because the full, like you go uphill, you go up the ski slope, and then the whole like last mile is like down. And so you can crush it. And so we practice that. And I remember my coaches having us like put our hips forward. And like that was not techie. And so then just like getting out and running in mountains, I think we're at technical trails and just getting used to that, where you can trust your footsteps. And I don't know, that's what I got. Trust your steps and hips forward.
I took some notes here. I was typing while you were talking that. Awesome. Well, Corey, it's been great to have you on the show. Great to meet. Brett or Lauren, do you have any final questions or comments before we wrap up?
I guess, are you stoked to be racing like close to home? I mean, similar to what, I mean, Whiteface is still pretty far. more or less, but just the East Coast seems to draw so many really cool US mountain running races. And I don't know, it's sweet to have, I'm sure, other people from the West or Colorado or wherever come in and just you get to showcase your stuff. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. And I love that it's in New Hampshire. And I'm super passionate about New Hampshire. My friends make fun of me. And I just am excited to have people see what New Hampshire is like, or like a small piece of it, and enjoy the Granite State.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Loon was my first time out to the East, really. So, and I absolutely loved it. But I wouldn't have been brought out there if it wasn't for the running championship. So it's sweet that they're doing it out there again.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that you're spreading the gospel of New Hampshire. Keep it going. We need it. Cool. Well, Corey, again, pleasure to have you on. Do you have any final thoughts or even calls to action for listeners and viewers out there who are getting ready to watch everything go down this weekend?
I mean, just like for people who are at the race and stuff, please enjoy New Hampshire and enjoy the state. And I think it's going to be fun. I think the weather's going to make it fun. And yeah, that's all I got. I'm bad at on the spot stuff.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That was great. Thank you so much. Seriously, we really appreciate it. Excited to meet you. Your race is going to be so fun to follow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. All right. That wraps up our interview process, I believe.
I learned a lot. That was great.
There's like a very diverse group of people racing, and I think one of the most surprising like themes was there's a lot of hybrid athletes racing, like not necessarily just like I specialize in short distance mountain races, but it's like I have run an OTQ race in the Olympic trials, the steeplechase, a handful of steeplers actually, but really cool to see more and more crossover athletes, Nordic skiers as well, just lots of disciplines.
It feels like a younger sport to me too. Like a lot of the folks that we were interviewing, early to mid 20s, somewhat fresh out of college, whereas in like the ultra setting, a lot more folks in their 30s and 40s still at the high level of the sport. So that stuck out to me as well.
I think on the other end, also talking to people in their high 40s or mid 40s with so much experience, and it seems like there's just a huge spectrum of the age groups and experience levels. But they're all mixing it up together, which is really sweet.
Yes. Paul, what do you think?
I should note there's actually an 80-year-old running tomorrow.
Wow.
Right on.
Yeah. New England has so we have this USATF New England Mountain Circuit, and I swear some of the stiffest competition tomorrow will be the 60 plus age division, because these guys are brutal. Like they've been racing against each other since their 30s. and whoever's still running, and it's just I love like seeing like they come out for these championships because they have like team pride and medal pride to get on the podium, and I just love seeing that. It's just a fun side aspect.
Let's go. That's awesome.
I want to see some of those upper age brackets represented in Austria. I would love to see like a 60 to 70 age bracket out there.
Well, there is actually there's a Masters mountain running champs. I forget where it is this year, but they do go by 5-year age divisions. And they because it's Masters, more like what track and field calls Masters. It's 35 plus in Europe. It's 35 plus is what it starts at.
Okay.
So there you go, Lauren. You can shoot for a Masters title in another how many years it would be for you. But,
come on, Paul, you and I together. I'm doing it. You're doing it.
I don't think we'd be in the same age division, the 5-year, but you're the same age as my older son. So yeah, thanks three of you for doing this. This was our first attempt at doing interviews before a Mountain Champs. We're really excited to do this all again tomorrow. I can tell you, if you saw when I was on earlier for a minute, I was in shorts and a t-shirt, and I am now wishing I had a heavier jacket. The temperature has dropped big time.
Okay.
It's supposed to be like 50 tomorrow. It was like 65 today. I've also noticed on camera that I should have used sunscreen today, But yeah, it's funny. It's this time in New England where, you know, you've all winter, you haven't had to worry about it. And suddenly today it was like 65 degrees. But yeah, I'm really excited to, you know, hop back on this tomorrow. Some racing. I don't know whether I mentioned it before, but we are going to have a video for like the first mile and a half of the race, actually have someone right in front of both the men and the women. And we learned today that we're going to get to use somebody's Tesla for it. So,
wow.
So that'll be nice. No emissions for the runners. My wife is also excited about this because she's the person driving the vehicle. So
cool. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, we're really looking forward to tomorrow with the cameras on course and everything and doing this all over again.
And regarding scheduling, what time can everyone tune in tomorrow?
So we're starting the coverage around 10, going to talk about it. Hoping to have on Richard Bolt from the U.S. mountain running team to talk about Austria as well as the championships. And then we'll be talking with the actual race starting at 11 for the men and then 11:45 for the women. So we'll be able to cover the men's race. We have cameras in the first mile and a half and then a camera in the single track and then 2 or 3 more once they pop out on the ski trail and the summit. And so we'll be able to cover the men and then the women at 11:45 as well, be able to do them and probably some split screening there so we can get both covered. Andy Wacker's going to also then try and do some post-race interviews from the summit with some of the top athletes with all of you on as well.
Right on. Exciting lineup of events. We're thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll see everyone in the morning then.
See everybody.
Bye, guys.